Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, coming to you on a holiday Monday with Jason Cameron, breaking down the world of sports as always. Going to be fun. I'm hungry, can't wait for turkey dinner, so let's get at it, Jason.
Yeah, definitely. I'm certainly hungry today.
Do you have your Tupperware by the front door so you don't forget it?
Well, it's on the kitchen counter, but yeah, it's ready. We're
Nice.
ready. We're
Good
ready
to
to rock
hear.
and roll.
Well, we're gonna have a lot better meal than P. Diddy's gonna have tonight. That's sure been brutally covering the news lately, all the wild stuff about him. I never knew that him changing his name from Sean Combs to Puff Daddy to P. Diddy was actually pedophile, P. Diddler. Like, oh my God, he was telling everybody that's what he wants to do, and finally they clued in and locked him up finally.
It's there's so much stuff. There's so much information about this guy that now, as all of this information's coming in, it's almost like it's been right in front of our face the entire time.
Yeah.
Except nobody's been paying attention.
Unreal, yeah.
Like literally. Yeah, man.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. I just that I'm stunned that it took this long for them to figure it out and to finally break the dam and all of a sudden everybody's coming out of the woodwork and saying, "Oh, yeah, I knew about this for 10 years, 15 years. Oh, it's been going on forever. Oh, there's nothing like a P. Diddy party. Oh my God, you can't even believe the stuff that's going on." And oh man, it's just it's unbelievable how much in the news cycle it is. Every single thing you turn on these days.
Yeah, like it is unbelievable. It's so much in the news cycle that it's actually overshadowing the elections, which
Yeah.
is weird, really.
Right.
Actually, if you kind of consider that,
Yeah.
it's like it's just somebody. It's like a celebrity's trial, big deal.
Yeah.
Who you want as a president should be a bigger deal. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
kind of should be,
Yeah.
but at the same time, though, I'm I'm so curious about this whole the whole court case and everything else because I want to know how far it goes down the rabbit hole. I want to know how many celebrities go down with him.
Yeah.
How many high-powered CEOs go down with him.
Yeah.
Like how far is this actually going to go? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I think he's probably got a lot of incriminating evidence against a lot of people, and
Yep.
he's probably already started to threaten, and we'll see who they want to take down with him. I think they are bringing this out to put a distraction. Maybe it is on the election. Maybe it is on some other things. That 23andMe thing has been quite controversial
Yep.
recently, and everybody having their DNA in one database that supposedly could be sold to the highest bidder to make a lot of money off of that. That maybe is something why this is coming out now, but it's kind of wild when a news cycle just takes over and just overshadows everything, and then you start looking at why now, what the heck is happening?
Exactly, because as you recall, like when they raided his establishments, that meant if the feds are going in, they know that they have you. They
Yeah,
got you. They
sure.
already got you. So why did it take them months before they said, okay, now we're going to go through with it? Why didn't you just go through it right then and there?
Yeah,
Right? Because
yeah,
it's always about timing with these people that are at the upper echelons. It's like, well, we want to do this now because of this and
yeah,
because of this. And we don't want people to actually understand what's going on over here. So we make a big thing over here, right?
exactly, yeah.
A little jazz hands. So yeah, man, a lot of weird stuff is happening at the same time. Probably was all orchestrated at the same time for a certain reason, right?
Yeah.
Now, what those reasons could be, I'm sure they're varied and everything else. And it's supposed to, at the end of the day, I think it's always just supposed to manipulate the masses. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
I think so.
Always.
Yeah, seems like it. Okay, tons of sports stories over the weekend. Absolutely, just so much to cover. We're gonna have to try to fit it in a 2 hour window, so it's gonna be tough. But to me, I think here in Canada, the biggest sports story out of the whole entire weekend is we have a new 4 division champion for the first time ever in the 175 weight class in boxing. Artur Beterbiev, Canadian, has beaten Dmitry Bivol in a very controversial fashion, but the first fighter to ever hold all 4 belts in this weight division. And I don't know why we're not parading in the streets, dancing around. We have a Canadian boxing champion, one of the pound for pound best in the world. It's bizarre to me that he's not so widely hailed, regarded. There wasn't tens of thousands of people waiting for him as he arrived back in Montreal. Why do you think that is? Why isn't he recognized a lot more nationwide and all over Canada as a big hero?
Well, first off, I would say this: he's not born. He was not born a Canadian. He trains here in Canada, right? Like I think he's from somewhere in Russia or something like
Yeah.
that.
Canadian
But
citizen and has been
but
here for over 10 years. So,
so he does have his Canadian citizenship. But
yeah.
the other thing is, did you watch the boxing match?
I did not see it live. I've seen a ton of highlights and watched as much as I could, but yeah, didn't see the whole fight, unfortunately.
Okay, I did. I
Okay.
watched the fight,
Okay.
and I will say this: it was probably one of the best skilled boxing matches I've ever seen in my life.
Nice.
It was absolutely unbelievable.
Awesome.
I think with like he should have had more fanfare for sure, but he's so like both these boxers are so understated. I understand why it wasn't there. They're not about me. They're about let's box, let's see who the best man is. They're
Nice.
about the work.
I
They're not
see.
about them like trying to puff themselves up or put themselves out there. They're not
Right.
marketers. They're just about the beautiful skill of the sport. So with that being said, I watched the fight. Man, it was so razor thin. I personally thought Bevo won,
Okay.
but more to the point, I thought it should have been a draw. The one thing I thought that was the most egregious thing about this fight, that was an absolutely fantastic fight. You had one judge for a draw, understood that. You had one judge for Beterbiev at 115, 113, understood that. Now, I thought the other judge would be, sorry for Beterbiev. I thought the other judge would be for Bivol, but that judge scored 116, 112. And I said, got a problem with that. There's no freaking way.
Right.
There's no way
Right.
that you could have judged it like that. I thought the other judge would have had it for Bivol and it would have been a straight draw. That would have made more sense to me.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Beterbiev. But I just thought that judge's scorecard was atrocious. 115, 113. I can understand that. I can see that. But 116, 112. No, man.
Yeah.
Nope. No.
Well, I guess they're going to file, Bivol's team is going to file an official protest about it. There was a comment that they saw the judge actually hug some of the promoters from the Beterbiev side and looked like they were high-fiving and hugging and way to go. So there's going to be a bunch of stories coming out of this. I think everybody's pointing to that 116, 112 judge and saying, completely egregious. It's funny because it's just one round different than the other judge where everybody's saying fine. The guy that had the draw, everybody's saying fine, but having one extra round, all of a sudden, boom, alarm bells going off, and everybody thinks that maybe the fix was on there. Kind of brutal and lousy because yeah, from all accounts, an amazingly great fight from two of the best fighters on the planet. A fight that everybody wanted to see, and we probably wouldn't see without the Saudi Arabian influence and having all of that money there on the table. The promoters are able to come together, and everybody does well with it. And it's too bad that one lousy judge can really kind of put a little bit of a stain on this match that everybody says was fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic. Like, for me, it's pretty obvious there should be an immediate rematch.
Right.
Like this could be one of those trilogy fights, like kind of like Arturo Gotti, Mickey Ward.
Sure.
That's the level of caliber that this could get to, right? This is the level of competition between these two men. But the fact that the Saudis actually put this fight on for boxing fans, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
They can't control what judges do, or maybe they can. But regardless, we wouldn't have the fight without them.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them doing that because they put on the fights that boxing fans, the serious ones, want to see. What every boxing fan should want to see.
Sure.
So as long as they keep doing that, that's fine. But just as long as they find, like, you know, judges that are just going to be, I don't know, just going to score it right. Even though, even as I say that, I know that that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't exist, right? So whatever.
Well, lots of experts were there ringside, and way more actually scored it for Bivol than Beterbiev. I've got experts that had it for Bivol were Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Shakur Stevenson, Andre Ward, Sean Porter, Dave Coldwell, Tony Bellew, and the experts that had it for Beterbiev is very small. I can find Ted Lee Atlas and Adam Azim saying that. A couple had it as a draw, Liam Smith and Andy Lee, but almost all of them really were leaning towards Bivol being the champ. How do you think Canelo Alvarez viewed it? Because now maybe his super fight with Bivol is off because there's probably going to be a rematch between these two.
I think Canelo is just like, well, it's kind of out of his power right now because, like, from all accounts, from the Bivol fight with Canelo Alvarez, Bivol controlled that fight pretty easily.
Right.
And the reason why he controlled that fight pretty easily is because Bivol was by far the bigger man.
Right.
So if you have the bigger man, like, who's stronger, just as fast and everything else, as your opponent, who's the smaller dude, well, that bigger guy's going to win.
Right.
And the thing that Beterbiev was able to do against Bivol that Canelo couldn't do against Bivol was Beterbiev pushed him back.
Right.
Canelo can't do that to him.
No.
He was not able to do that because he didn't have the physicality to do it. So I think that Bivol definitely, I think his main focus would be to get this fight back with Beterbiev and try to reclaim his belts. I think that would be his main focus. Canelo can wait in the wings because he's already been there, done that.
On all three judges' scorecards, Beterbiev won the last 3 rounds. So was it a case of Bivol getting a little tired, facing that pressure, was getting to him? Beterbiev, what kicked it into a second gear? Why do you think Beterbiev was able to win those last 3 rounds, and probably because of that he won this fight?
Pacing. I think it was calculated on his part. I think he was willing to give away those early rounds so that he'd have the stamina for the later rounds. Even though with that being said, yes, I thought Beterbiev was kind of won those last 3 rounds, except I still had a question mark about the 12th because I still thought it was a seesaw battle, and Bivol had great combinations still coming back because he was unwilling to just let Beterbiev just bully him like he did in one of the rounds. I think it was round 5 or something like that. So, yeah, man, it was razor close. I personally didn't believe Beterbiev won, but I would have been okay with the draw.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
well, let's hope that Canada embraces him a lot more. Maybe he'll get to drop the puck at the Montreal Canadiens game. Maybe he'll be recognized at some of the big sporting events. Maybe he'll be able to get on some media, media channels and recognize. It's pretty amazing to have one of the pound for pound champions coming out of Canada, because we had a lot of boxers leave Canada, go elsewhere to try to have pro careers. Lennox Lewis comes to mind. Arturo Gotti, had to fight, down south for most of his boxing career. And it's nice that a Canadian or a Russian can move to Canada, become a citizen, start his boxing career. He fought 9 out of his first 10 fights in Montreal, in Canada. Has fought even recently in Canada. His fight right before this was in Canada, and Yeah, I just it's great to see someone be able to have boxing as their number one sport and be able to stay in Canada and become one of the greatest in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the fact that he trains here, it's camps here, he fights here, and this is no joke. He's the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world.
Mm.
I can't remember when the last time that happened in the light heavyweight division. I don't know if it has actually ever happened in the light
Well, it's
heavyweight
never
division.
happened in the four belt era. Never. First
There we
time
go.
ever. So yeah.
So there you go. He made history.
Yeah.
The man literally made history
Yeah.
and should definitely be getting his flowers. Other organizations should be seeing that and inviting him out to say, do this for us. Could you do this for us? He should be celebrated
Yeah.
across the country.
Now we're with boxing. Let's talk about some boxing news that happened over in Japan over the weekend. Huge upset as Takuma Inoue lost his WBA bantamweight title. His countryman Seiya Satsumi won a 12-round unanimous decision. Really shocked the world there. I don't think anybody gave Satsumi a chance there. Inoue is one of the pound-for-pound best in the world as well. And yeah, quite a dramatic, very crazy start to the weekend. Hearing about that news.
That was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that he won that fight because, anyways, I think his nickname's the Monster. It's the Monster for a reason.
Yeah.
I was shocked, utterly, completely shocked. And that, by the way, that's all I saw. Like, I just saw the headlines that he won, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Also on the same card, Kenshiro Teraji, he got a 11th round retirement in the corner to win the vacant WCBC flyweight title. Now he's a two-division champion. His nickname is the Amazing Boy. He really beat up Christopher Rosales. Ended up he could not come back into the ring after the 11th round. And yeah, this card was amazing. It had a ton of really, really big fights on it. It's incredible to see that Saudi Arabia could have such a massive card. Japan could have such a massive card. This is a global sport, and it's becoming so unrecognizable in the US because of the mixed martial arts explosion and MMA taking over. But great that these huge, huge, huge fights are still happening around the globe.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And it's fantastic that the Saudis have gotten involved and are putting together the fights that traditionally would almost be impossible to put together because the promoters can never get together on the money.
Yeah.
And then now the Saudis have come in and said, oh, we'll take care of all of that. That's fine.
That's done. Yeah.
Just make sure that the fight happens.
Yeah.
That's it.
I heard rumors yesterday that yeah, this rematch is almost a done deal. According to the Saudis, they're willing to shell out as much money as they want. I think both guys are going to get in the excess of over $20 million. So yeah, probably early 2025, we'll see these guys battle again, and hopefully it won't be controversial. Hopefully one guy really takes advantage and wins by knockout instead of a decision. When it goes to the judges, you're just like, oh no. Hopefully the judges can be eliminated, not needed, and we can have a real full-on, non-controversial champion. But great to see boxing on the forefront. I thought it was awesome. I realized why the UFC did an early card on Saturday, that they didn't want to go up against it. I unfortunately had made plans already and was unable to watch it live. Much to my demise and chagrin, I was pretty choked when I realized, oh crap, it's on and I'm not going to be there. That was my biggest regret of the weekend for sure.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, the main card happened right as the prelims were in the middle of the prelims.
Oh, okay.
Oh, for the UFC, because it was out in Saudi Arabia, so they always have it like at a different time difference.
Oh,
So
wow.
for me, because of the last couple of times that the main card has happened, I was just like, okay, so it's not going to start on time because they usually don't.
Sure.
I just happened just to take a look, just to take a peek, It actually started on time.
Wow.
It actually started at 3 o'clock Pacific or something,
Oh,
somewhere around there. It
really?
actually
Wow.
started on time.
Oh,
I couldn't
wow.
believe it.
That's really amazing. Yeah. Boxing's been notoriously bad for that in the last few years for sure. So that's great. Okay, the big news I thought in Canada was that the NBA was having their Hall of Fame inductions, and Vince Carter finally decided that the Toronto Raptors were going to be the team that he represents heading into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Great to see his induction speech, and great to see all the NBA royalty there, some of the inductees, and it was a fantastic speech. Really good that him and the Toronto Raptors have been able to patch up their differences. He's able to recognize how they brought him into the NBA, and he was able to really make his name and start his reputation for a Hall of Fame career there. And did you catch his speech? Did you see the induction of Vince Carter?
I know that he got inducted, but I wasn't able to catch the speech. But the thing that you just said that I was actually kind of surprised at is that he did go in as a Raptor. I did not see that coming. I didn't think that they'd be able to mend the fences, because I remember from back in the day how bad it got, and the fact that his game somewhat tanked before he got traded. And I was just like, oh, okay, I thought that was a fence that would never be mended. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it did. It was great. He really said a lot of fantastic things about the Raptors, about Canada, about that team, about all the things that happened there. He had Tracy McGrady and Dr. J. Julius Irvin helping him in his induction. He recognized probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people during his speech. It was amazing and really great that he's finally being recognized. 22 seasons, the only guy that ever played in 4 different decades, was able to go to many organizations, never chased a ring like a lot of guys have been doing for the past 25 years or so. He just went to situations where he could still see playing time. He wasn't that old man at the end of the bench, just sort of with the cane, trying to give wisdom to the young whippersnappers. He was actually playing and actually contributing to many teams over his career, and yeah, it's just recognized as having just an incredibly decorated Hall of Fame career, even though he didn't win a ring.
Yeah, and I do remember hearing an interview about that, about the reason why he was unwilling to ring chase, and that the reason was exactly what you just said. He still wanted to play. He still wanted to contribute. That's why he never did. And I think there's a lot of honor in there.
Yeah.
I think there's a tremendous amount of honor in the fact that, no, man, like I respect myself enough that if I still want to keep playing, then that means I can't ring chase, because or else I'll be at the end of the bench. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep playing.
Yeah, it's great. Also very awesome to see Chauncey Billups there. Nice that they were able to recognize his contributions. He was a 5-time All-Star, MVP of that 2000 final, that sort of out of the blue Detroit Pistons championship. Ben Wallace represented him on the stage, and it was really cool. I thought he was one of the greatest point guards of his time. Ended up playing 17 seasons and bounced around quite a bit after Detroit, or even before Detroit and after. But yeah, awesome that he's being inducted too.
Yeah, he was part of one of the best defensive teams that probably the NBA has ever seen. And that was probably one of the biggest upsets in the finals that the NBA has ever seen, because they utterly crushed the Lakers.
Yeah.
They crushed them. It was almost like the Lakers had no business being in the same gym with them. I remember watching that series and I was like, my goodness, they don't even stand a chance.
No.
Crushed them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Michael Cooper, great to see him. 12 seasons with the Lakers, 5 rings there. All-time defensive player, one of the greatest defensive players. Finally recognized. A lot of the defensive players aren't recognized super highly in the NBA, but great that they were, all those Showtime Lakers probably don't have the same type of success without a guy like him who was a shutdown force all the time on the court.
Yeah, you need a defensive stopper. You need that defensive wing that can do the dirty work behind the scenes as your superstars get all the glitz and glamour. But he was one of those pillars that the Lakers absolutely needed to win all those championships.
Yeah. Doug Collins, nice to see him recognized. He's mostly known locally in North America these days by people from his broadcasting career, also his coaching career. Michael Jordan called him one of the greatest coaches that he ever had. Grant Hill yesterday said he was the greatest coach that Grant Hill ever had. He was a very fantastic player, and then he became a really elite coach. Coached the Bulls, coached the Wizards with Jordan there, Pistons as well, and then really fantastic broadcasting career as well. Really was able to talk about his basketball journey, his career, and all the wisdom he had. Really loved hearing him on broadcasts, and nice to see him recognized for that whole really long 45-year body of work.
Yeah, and it is long. It's incredibly long, and he's been awesome for all of it. I always thought of him as one of the best player coaches that were out there during his time when he was coaching, and obviously players thought the same thing because he was just an excellent communicator, and he was able to get across to the guys that he was coaching what exactly he wanted from them, what he expected from them.
Yeah.
And they always rose to the challenge of whatever he said that they needed to do.
Yeah, totally. Jerry West was recognized for his building category, his contributions to the game. That puts him in the Hall of Fame in 3 different categories: player, coach, and now builder. Unfortunately, he just passed away in June, so he wasn't there, but his family was able to recognize the honor. It was great. Very awesome speech from Herb Simon, the owner of the Indiana Pacers and WNBA's Indiana Fever. The guy's 90 years old, and he said, "Oh, thank God the induction finally came, because I was touch and go if I was gonna live to see it." So he had a funny speech and had a lot of great guys to thank for all of what he had. He had Larry Bird and Reggie Miller up on stage with him, recognizing, and I think her name is Takima Catchings, WNBA star that played her entire career with Indiana. But yeah, just fantastic speeches. Love it from all these people recognized. There was quite a bit more recognized. A lot of people that everyone's not really going to know different aspects, but great. Love it. Love seeing that induction ceremony. It lasted over 3.5 hours, so it was a lot to get through, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And you know what? The right people got in for this year, most certainly. And it's always great to see people get the flowers that they deserve for the hard work that they've put in and the sacrifices that they've made so that they could make it to the Hall of Fame.
Big time, big time. Yeah. Okay, 2 other basketball notes I want to mention. Great news. The Bulls' Lonzo Ball is expected to make his return this Wednesday. He's missed 2 straight NBA seasons with some serious injury troubles. So fantastic that he's been able to get back to full health. And he last played a game January 14th, 2022. He's had multiple procedures on his left knee, and he had a rare double cartridge transplant that supposedly has taken. At 26 years old, he's able to resume his career. You and me both, and many others, really thought maybe this career was completely derailed, but 26 years old, maybe fresh and ready and rejuvenated, might be able to resume a great career. And yeah, just really must be so happy to have put all the work in and finally overcome these serious injuries.
Yeah, thank goodness he's actually in this time and era so that they could actually figure out what was exactly wrong with his
Yeah.
knee, because I believe it was a one of one.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever had that injury before,
Yeah.
and he unfortunately was the first one to go through it, and so they had to figure it out, and it took 2 years for him to figure it out. But I appreciate his persistence, his
Yeah.
perseverance throughout
Big
this
time.
whole thing, and for
Awesome.
the fact that he was actually able to get back onto the court finally, and that he's able to do that. Um, just that, yeah, just the fact that he's able to do that is just a testament to him, and then the fact that he was just willing to just keep fighting to try to get back on the court, where a lot of other players would have said, you know what, I'm just going to call it a career. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well said. Yeah. Speaking of fighting, there was some fighting yesterday between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the New York Knicks. They consummated a huge trade a couple of weeks ago, and one of the guys that went from New York to Minnesota obviously is still pretty pissed off. Dante DiVincenzo ended up fighting with the coaching staff of the of the Knicks yesterday. He started yelling over to the bench while he was about to shoot some free throws, and started yelling at Tibbs first of all. Ended up fighting with Rick Brunson, the father of Jalen Brunson, and both benches spilled. Huge amount of yelling and cursing and screaming at each other. Pretty wild to see. Dante's not happy that the trade was made after all his former college teammates all reunited. He thought this was going to be great, and then shipped him out of town, and it wasn't well received by him. And pretty interesting to see Jalen Brunson's dad yelling at him too, and screaming and calling him names and stuff. It was a pretty interesting scene.
Wow. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, man, but I see it where Dante's coming from.
Yeah.
Like, what did he do wrong besides being unfreaking believable and awesome in the Knicks playoff run last year, and just being
Yeah.
awesome all year?
Yeah.
So like, if you look at his body of work with the Knicks for the 1 year that he played, it's like, yeah, I can see why you want to get rid of that guy. What a loser. What a ridiculous, what, the guy served no purpose on it. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh,
There's nothing. He was their best shooter from behind the 3-point arc.
yeah.
That's who that guy was. He was Mr. Dependable
He
at
was
all times.
He was
At all times.
absolutely fantastic from beyond the arc there. Yeah, just the best shooter they had.
Yeah. So for him to be pissed, I would be pissed too.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that the Knicks wanted to throw him into that trade, but for the trade to happen, I think the Timberwolves demanded that
Yeah.
DiVincenzo be in it.
Yeah.
So I think that their hand was forced, but at the same time, I still kind of wonder, did the trade actually need to happen? I know it probably need to happen from the Timberwolves side, because they can't afford a $200 million player here with Cat, a $200 million player here with Anthony Edwards, another $200 million player here with Rudy Gobert. It's too much money.
Sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well,
But
you and I speculated right from the start when they had this three-headed monster that
Yeah.
someone's going to probably have to go out the door.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards kind of was the future of this team, so it just sort of looked like Cat was probably going to be the guy on the way out. And the Knicks decided to move on from Randall. He's still undergoing rehabilitation for his shoulder surgery, so he might not be available right away, and he might not be able to, be that elite guy that they needed. So they were able to get Towns in there. There was no way Minnesota was going to do a 1-for-1 deal. So, they asked for some key pieces, and they were able to get it. So, yeah, DiVincenzo pissed off about it, letting them know. He was yelling over. He was yelling over towards Tibbs and saying, "This is what you get when they let you run the show." He said that a couple times, and then Brunson came over, and then Brunson said, "I'll let you live, brother, but if you push it, not anymore." He said that was some suck ass. Every time he said it about 2 or 3 times at him. that you're going after my coach there. And so Rick was sticking up for Tibbs, and it was pretty awesome. I haven't seen a war of words like that between a player and a coach in a long, long time. Remember we had the choking of
Yep.
his own coach, but we haven't seen something like that where it was so heated.
Yeah. But you know what? I love it. Action.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sometimes I think that's something that's lacking sometimes in professional sports, and everybody's all buddy and everybody's friend. I like the fact that it's like, oh no, we're not friends no more.
No.
You did me dirty, and I'm gonna let you know about it. We're gonna clear the benches, and I'm gonna keep yelling at you. I'm gonna yell at you for the rest of the game. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's great. It's like passion. That's what needs to be in sports. Sometimes I think it's forgotten.
True. Well, we'll have to circle on the calendar the next time they play, especially some regular season game, and see if we can have a big war between the two franchises. It was pretty amazing, pretty cool to watch, and very surprising in my opinion. But yeah, fun that it happened. Okay, we are pressed for time, so let's just I've got a lot of sports notes, but let's just jump right away into the NFL coverage, and then if we're able to squeeze in some rest of the sports coverage, we will do so. So let's go right away. I just want to cover some news quickly first before we go game by game. Um, Philadelphia coach Nick Sirianni is definitely on the hot seat. Even though the Eagles did win yesterday in the stadium, the fans were chanting "Fire Nick, Fire Nick, Fire Nick." He ended up in an altercation after the game with the fans, started swearing at them, started pointing at individuals. Looked like he fingered a couple of them, and he was pretty pissed off. He walked into the stadium with a shaved head and looked super weird. It looked like he did it himself, just with a razor quickly, and looked like he's losing it. He just doesn't seem like he's keeping it together. And after the Eagles went on their huge plummeting in the standings last year, they flamed out in the playoffs. A lot of people were calling for his head. They decided, no, he was our man. But a few weeks into the season, the fans are turning on him. I think if the Eagles lose a couple in a row, he's really in jeopardy of losing his job. But I'm surprised that he lost it and started going after the fans in the stands.
I'm not surprised at all. Philly fans are hard to deal with.
Right.
At
Sure.
times. They can be kind of pretty brutal. And I'm sure some of the things that they were saying were colorful, smart, sometimes probably kind of curious, but more than anything, probably just pissed them off more than anything else. To the point that I know Philly fans are good at that. They'll make you mad and they'll make you react. And that's exactly what they got out of Sirianni, which is like, that's what we want. Now you're just one more step closer to getting out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Speaking of coaches that are in a lot of trouble, well, Robert Saleh ended up walking the plank this past week. They decided that his antics were needed no more in New York, and they sent him packing. There's been so much coming out about maybe the reason why. He wore a shirt with a Lebanese flag on it, and Lebanon is embroiled in a fight in the Middle East, and I think that's got a lot of play as well this week. One of the only Muslims to ever, or the only Muslim to ever coach an NFL team, and Woody Johnson was the ambassador from the U.S. to the U.K., and some reason maybe he's got some political ties there. Kind of bizarre that this is sort of the prevailing opinion now that they say Aaron Rodgers is off the hook. It wasn't him that made the move.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so if Salah was wearing like the Lebanese shirt, is his background Lebanese?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the problem, then what's the problem?
Right.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, so you're saying that he shouldn't be proud of where he comes from or what he represents? Is that what you're actually saying? As the owner, that's That's literally what you're saying? Because you can't do that.
No.
I'm sorry, man. If that's the reason why you let him go is because he was Lebanese, okay, you got a problem then. You
Yeah.
got a real problem there. So I'm hoping that's not it. I think I want to I want to think that it's because of the fact that he just had an awful record and they weren't winning games
Yeah.
to the likes that the owner would have liked them to win.
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah, well, I've heard so many rumors about it. It's been insane. The other thing was that Woody Johnson actually wasn't the guy that made the move in the first place, bringing Sala
That's true.
in.
Yeah.
That was definitely bandied about quite a bit in this past week. Nathaniel Hackett has been demoted. There was a lot of talk that Sala wanted to do that. Sala actually reached out to quite a few coaches over the summertime, and we're trying to hire some guys to be in that position. Wasn't able to convince anybody to make the change. I wrote down some of the guys' names, but he went after a lot of the big names. Most of them ended up getting head coaching jobs elsewhere, and so none moved over. But we'll see. Maybe we'll find out the real deal. But yeah, just for wearing a shirt that represents the country you're from, doesn't seem like it's grounds for firing to me. And hopefully it wasn't the case. Speaking of coaches that are on the hot seat, Doug Peterson, there's speculation and there's some bets going online that he might not actually be allowed on the plane. They're over in London. They played this past weekend. They're playing in London again this coming weekend. And the speculation that he will be fired after the latest loss they've had, and all the money they spent on Trevor Lawrence, and they are just a disaster, completely horrible team. And if they lose to the Patriots this weekend, they might not let him on the plane. Say, take your own plane home. You're fired. See you later, Doug.
Okay, so hold on a second. Have the Jags been playing overseas for 3 weeks now?
No,
Straight?
this will be their second week coming up. So
Oh,
they
second week
play
coming up.
this Saturday. They'll play next Saturday.
Yeah, so and I don't think their record is very good overseas right now. Like if memory if my memory is correct. So yeah, I think there's a very good chance. I think you're absolutely right. I think they might be like, everybody on the except for you, everybody else on the planet, you stay over here. We're gonna talk a little bit. You're fired. That's your plane over there. Oh, coach, get on that plane.
Coach is sitting in coach.
Coach is sitting in coach. Coach is sitting in coach. There you go.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I talk about the Eagles and the Jags at the same time, because Peterson won a Super Bowl title with the Eagles there. At the time, people said, give him a lifetime contract. He finally got the Eagles a Super Bowl championship. And, a couple of years later, they soured on him, sent him packing. They don't like him in Jacksonville. They don't like Sirianni in Philly. He should have stayed there. They should have had maybe Sirianni in Jacksonville, and things would be just symbiotic in both franchises.
Yeah, that would be great if they just go, you know what? We're just going to trade coaches.
Trade them.
Straight up
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
You get Sirianni, we get Doug Peterson back. I think everything will be happy. Well, everybody will be happier.
The Canucks and Rangers did that. They made a trade for coaches, but we ended up getting Torts here, and it didn't work out very well. So maybe some franchises remember that and think, oh no, we're not going to get Torts, are we? And make that kind of a trade. So probably not happening. Probably will be some firings from these two coaches as well. Also, a lot of talk that Mike McCarthy might be walking the plank, even though 82-year-old yesterday, Jerry Jones, had his birthday. He said, oh, I'm not even going there with Mike McCarthy. Sometimes when they give that vote of confidence, usually that means they're out the door within a week or two. Cowboys got embarrassed, have been just absolutely blown out at home this year. 167 points have been scored against the Cowboys at home. Cowboys came into the season on an amazing undefeated home streak, and this year they just have embarrassed themselves in front of these massive crowds. and Mike McCarthy might be in some serious hot water now.
I would say so. I was expecting that to be like a close matchup
Yeah.
against the Lions. I wasn't expecting the Lions to decimate them and utterly destroy. Like it was just a dismantling.
Yeah.
Like where's this vaunted Dallas Cowboys defense? What happened to it? Doesn't exist.
No.
It's gone.
Yeah. They have lost 4 starters to injury, and that's really harmed them. But there should be able to be next man up, next man up philosophy, and patching the holes like all the other teams in the NFL do. And this is crazy. Dak Prescott came into the game against the Lions with a 5-0 record in his career, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 118.6, the highest against any other team that he had ever faced. And those records are blasted out the door. And Dak Prescott, fresh off this massive contract, is in a bit hot water himself for such an embarrassing loss. But we're going to get to that actually right after the Commanders and the Ravens game. Commanders still lead the NFC East with a 4-2 record. Dallas and Philly are tied with 3-2, and the Giants have fallen down now to 2-4. So the Commanders Ravens game, a lot of people really put this high on their priority list to watch over the weekend because of the matchup between Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, the veteran MVP against this young rookie who has been setting a lot of records and has been doing fantastic. Definitely one of the games of the weekend, but the Ravens proved that that 0-2 start was just a blip on the radar. They used Lamar, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers to dominate this game and get the nice 30-23 victory. Both Commanders and Ravens sit at 4-2. But as I said, 4th straight win for the Ravens, really getting back on track and starting to become one of the teams to beat in the NFL.
Yep, definitely. The Ravens were fantastic in this game, but I was more impressed with the Commanders and the fact that they gave themselves a chance to possibly tie up the game and win the game. Yeah. And the fact that they hung tough was one of the best NFL teams out there. I thought Commanders were awesome.
Yeah.
Be honest with you. They lost the game, but they just proved to me anyways that they can hang with the best in the NFL. True. Because this was a close game. This was a very close game.
It was really close, yeah. King Henry had another fantastic game with 132 yards and a couple of touchdowns, a 3-yard and a 7-yard TD run. Lamar had over 300 yards passing, and Zay Flowers had 130 yards receiving. This team has a lot of weapons. Mark Andrews finally got his TD catch. He becomes the all-time Baltimore Raven, most TD catches in Ravens history. And Marlon Humphrey had a great game, leading tackler with 8 tackles. Great defense all around, just allowing the Commanders to only have 52-yard rushing, which was, to me, the biggest key because Jaden Daniels has been getting more than 50 yards rushing himself without any running backs back there. And I think the defense really withstood the attack from the Commanders, and I think that was really the deciding factor.
Yeah, because I think they have some of the best rushing in the NFL, one of the best rushing teams, and the Ravens basically just took that away from them. So that was impressive. But I was also impressed with Terry McLaurin, 6 receptions, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then I think the 1 touchdown to give them a chance to try to get back into the game. The defensive back for the Ravens, Stevens, was draped all over him.
Yeah.
His hand was in there.
Yeah.
And he caught the ball along with the DB's arm was in there as well. I thought that was one of the best catches I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
Quite some time.
Great throw by Daniels and amazing, even way better of a catch by McLaurin, right in the corner of the end zone there. Awesome. Yeah, they have a lot of great weapons, and small setback for the Commanders. Don't think that was a really nice fun, close game for sure. The Commanders host the Panthers on Sunday, so a much better, easier team to face. That's in the later window. And the Ravens go to Tampa Bay. They play Monday, 5:15. Haven't heard what's going on in Tampa Bay other than I saw shots of the Tropicana field where the Tampa Bay Rays play, completely destroyed their stadium. I'm not sure about what a lot of the people will face going back to Tampa Bay after the Hurricane Milton came through there.
Yeah, they might have to find a different space to play for the next little bit for sure. But definitely the Tampa Bay Rays, they got a lot of fixing to do on that stadium.
Oh man, yeah, it looks pretty bad there. Yeah, holy
Looks pretty
cow.
bad.
Yeah. Okay, now we get to the Cowboys game. Lions just dominated them 47-9. Lions are 4-1. Cowboys fall to 3-3. That was the second most points in a road loss for the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, in a home loss for the Dallas Cowboys. They lost by 52 against Green Bay in 1952. So second worst loss at home in Dallas Cowboys history. It was ugly there. Jared Goff way outplayed Dak Prescott. We even seen Cooper Rush come in and have some action after Dak was kind of ineffective. This was not great for Jerry Jones celebrating his 82nd birthday, having to look around and think, "Oh my God, who have I put on the field here? This is pretty bad." Detroit looks great. They scored early off in the game, and that was their 9th straight red zone trip with a touchdown. They are a juggernaut right now. Goff had 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. Montgomery had a couple touchdowns. Jamison Wilson scored. And Sam Laporta with a beautiful touchdown down the sideline, diving in. The only tough thing for Detroit is Aiden Hutchinson, sack leader of the league right now, ended up breaking his fibula, had immediate surgery yesterday, and they think he's likely out for the season unless they make the Super Bowl, and he'll make a dramatic return and be able to come back and lead Detroit to a Super Bowl win. But likely, it's the last of him we've seen all season, the rest of the year.
Yeah, it was such a dominating win, but that put a definite sour mark on the whole win. I saw the instant replay, like I just saw the highlights of the game, right? Because it was just a blowout. So I wasn't aware that he hurt himself. I saw it later, and I saw it slowed down, and it wasn't pretty to watch. That's for damn sure. Like it was, yeah. From what I saw, I would say, even if they make the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, man. No, man, you
don't bring him back.
Don't bring him out. Yeah. Let him have the rest of the season into the off season to rehab that injury, because that's major. Yeah. Major injury.
Absolutely massive. Yeah. Too bad. Very tough on him. But yeah, Lions still look great, fantastic on offense. Also on defense, Brian Branch got a couple of picks. Kirby Joseph and Alan McNeil had 2 sacks. Each. Aiden Hutchinson had a sack before he got hurt. Amon-Ra St. Brown had another touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had a great game. And yeah, this team is super stacked. Cowboys don't have a running game. We talked about it. Rico Dowdle had the one great game, but other than that, their rushing attack is next to nothing. Then they start falling down, and then teams can key on their receivers. They just weren't able to get anything going. The only points they put on the board was Brandon Aubrey getting 3 field goals, and Dallas is in a lot of trouble. Luckily, they do have a bye this week. They can start figuring out what went wrong, what's happening. They do face the 49ers coming up next week. That's the Sunday nighter after their bye. And the Lions go to the Vikings, play in Minnesota Sunday early. Okay, sticking with the NFC East, let's talk about the Eagles' victory 20-16 over the Browns. Eagles are now 3-2. Cleveland fell to 1-5. The Eagles got a really much needed boost as Devontae Smith was back. AJ Brown's healthy, and the combination of those two guys together were going to produce a great win. Deshaun Watson settling more lawsuits than throwing touchdowns, having another lousy game, and it's a lost season in Cleveland. Great defense, no offense, and the Eagles, even though they just squeaked out a win, I don't think anybody was surprised that Philly took this one.
Nobody should be surprised that Philly took this one, even though it was a squeaker. The the stats for Deshaun Watson: 16 of 23, 168 yards. Like, he has a hard time cracking 200 yards nowadays. So, with that being said, all you can, like, if you're going in to play the Browns, you know that their defense is going to be stellar. But if you can put at least 20 points on the board, you're probably going to win.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, you just gotta roll up that, and then that's it. You're easily winning. Yeah, it's bad in Cleveland, but there's nothing they can do. They're stuck with Deshaun. I heard if they like cut him, like they owe him like 140, or they have like 140 million in dead cap money for like 1 year. So can't do it. It's impossible. Wouldn't even be able to field the team if they just kept him or got rid of him and had to have that dead cap money. So a very smart contract put together by his agency made sure, even if he absolutely crapped the bed, he's not going anywhere. He'll go out in a blazing flame of glory.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, but I'll say this: as soon as his contract's up, he's out of the league.
Oh yeah.
Period. Like he's definitely out of the league. I saw one interview with him, and I think the reporter asked him about like him running, like just to help the team win, like using more of his legs and stuff like that. He said, you know what his answer was? Yeah, absolutely not. No. I'm here for the long run. I gotta preserve my body and stuff. And I'm like, I think everybody would love you to run so that you could just take it out for the rest of the season.
No kidding. Yeah, unreal. Yeah, he's so so clueless. Self-preservation, but doesn't care about the teammates, nobody else but him. So pretty bad, pretty bad. Jalen Hurts looked good. Couple touchdowns, as I said. AJ Brown had a nice touchdown, and Saquon looked fairly decent. Unfortunately, Dallas Goedert hurt his hamstring. Might be out for a little while with it. The Eagles defense, 7 players had at least half a sack of Deshaun and looked pretty damn good there. They ended up having a few other injuries too during the game. Darius Slay left with a knee injury, and Mulata left with a hamstring injury. Their left tackle, Goddard, with the hamstring too. So that's not good to see, the injury bug biting them. But the Eagles head to the New York Giants Sunday. Bengals go to the Browns. Speaking of the Giants, they played the Sunday nighter last night. This was a defensive battle. Back and forth, till the Bengals got a late touchdown. Bengals improved to 2-4. Giants fall to 2-4. Bengals won 17-7. The Giants were celebrating their last 2 Super Bowl victories. They had Eli Manning there, Tom Coughlin, David Tyree probably got the biggest cheer of the whole night. Him with the helmet catch, everybody remembers. This is another aspect of their 100th season, and it was great to see all these Giants legends there. The current team lacks a lot of the star power that those teams had. Pretty amazing though, to think back and that season that Eli was able to beat the Patriots when the Patriots were undefeated heading all the way into that Super Bowl. And the Giants came into the playoffs with a 10-6 record, and probably the biggest upset in Super Bowl history. You should be recognizing that all the time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like to the point that I'm sure Dayball is like, can any of you guys suit up today?
Yeah, exactly.
Can any of you guys come in for the second half? I think we're gonna need you, especially you, Justin Tuck. Come on in,
Yeah,
help us out here.
he looked pretty good still, didn't he?
He
Yeah,
did. He looked pretty good. He
yeah,
did. He looked
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely, the Giants need to honor that the fact that they had some miracle Super Bowl wins against a guy that's pretty much the boogeyman.
Yeah,
Literally, whenever he
totally.
goes to a Super Bowl, he's the
Yeah,
boogeyman.
he wins it. Yeah. In the game, the Bengals Giants game, they put up a stat late in the game when the score was Bengals 10, Giants 7. And it said that the Bengals, in the Bengals' history in their entire organization, they've only won one game scoring 10 or fewer points in their history. Their only win was a 10-7 win of the Cleveland Browns back in 1977. Their record was 1-166 when they only scored 10 points and never won. They ended up getting a late touchdown run. Chase Brown ended up scoring and making that kind of moot, but pretty wild. The Bengals had allowed 10 plus points in 75 straight games, and that snapped the longest current streak in the NFL of that. So they held Giants to 7, and really good bookend runs. I mentioned the Chase Brown. That Joe Burrow 47-yard run to start the scoring was pretty spectacular, and never really see Burrow scamper that fast. He looked pretty damn great, being able to give them that early lead, and they were able to get a win.
Yeah, it just kind of worked out because most of the offense was shifted over to the left-hand side along with the defense, so the right side was wide open. So I think he saw that and goes, going for it, going for it.
Yeah.
And he had the wheels. He had the wheels to get there.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive by Joe.
I didn't think he was going to outrun those DBs. I thought they were going to catch him, but no, he was able to get into that corner and get the win. Yeah, I mentioned Chase, good game. T. Higgins had a great game. Jamar also, both had 77 yards catching, and Jermaine Pratt had the pick that really helped. Daniel Jones falls to 1-14 in his prime time career. By far the worst record that we've ever seen in prime time, and pretty nuts that they keep putting the Giants in there, giving him these highlight scope opportunities, and every single solitary time except for one, he's had a loss.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's more due to the fact that they're in the New York market.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. They're in the New York market, so we have to put them in the prime time. And even though they're garbage, we're gonna keep doing that. Question mark.
True, yeah. Daniel Jones at 114 is a .071 winning percentage. Second worst guy is Andy Dalton, 6 wins, 21 losses, 2.22 winning percentage. Jeff George was 5-17. Ken Anderson was 3-12. Those are the three guys that follow him in the pecking order of worst prime time. I also have a stat of the MetLife Stadium in New York since 2018, the home record in primetime games. The Giants have the worst record at 1-9, and the Jets the fourth worst, 2-7. So yeah, even though it's a big TV market, we don't need to see New York in prime time until these teams get on better tracks.
That would be great. That would be great if they showed them less and other great teams more.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Jones, half decent game, 205 yards passing, but no touchdowns, threw a pick, 56 yards on the ground himself. Slayton and Tracy both had 6 catches for 57 yards each, and Tracy also had 50 yards on the ground, scoring the only touchdown for them. As I mentioned just before, Bengals go to Cleveland, first game, and the Giants host the Eagles, as I said. Okay, now we get to talk about the NFC West. The 49ers and the Seahawks are tied at the top of the division, 3-3. Seahawks had an opportunity to put some space between them in a matchup, but the Seahawks take a 36-24 loss to the 49ers. This was the Thursday nighter, and really didn't feel close at all. The 49ers were up 16-0, 23-3. They got 2 touchdowns in the fourth to close it out, make it 36-24. Yeah, this just didn't seem like the Seahawks are in the 49ers class when they faced head to head.
No, not at all. Purdy was terrific again. 18-28, 255 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think we can actually now say, I want to say this, that it's not just his weapons. I think he's really good.
He's good. Yeah.
Like he's really good.
Yeah.
He's not had some of these guys available for a lot of these games, and he's still just going along, doing his best to win these games. So I think that narrative of him being good because man, he's actually a very, very good quarterback. Garendo, very impressed with him, stepped in because I believe Mason got hurt in this game. He had 10 carries for 99 yards, almost averaging 10 yards per carry.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fantastic work.
Amazing, yeah.
And before Mason got hurt, he had 9 carries for 73 yards. So their rushing attack was awesome. Juszczyk, who I love that guy, their fullback. He had 1 carry for 6 yards and a touchdown. And I love the fact that him and Kerry Kittle went into the stands because that's where their wives were, and that's where they celebrated. They did the leap up into the stands, and then a couple of his other teammates came and joined them as well. So that was pretty cool.
They got to do that on a few occasions because Kittle scored 2 touchdowns. Juszczyk got a touchdown. They got to go and give 3 balls to the people there. And we talked about the footballs being asked to be returned at the BC Lions game last weekend. I don't think security came down and asked their wives to give back the footballs in that one. It was pretty wild to see kind of a Lambeau leap type of thing happen 3 times during the game, and the wives looked super happy.
Yeah, I thought the wives were super happy, and I would think that if security had asked them to give back the balls, there would have been a brawl immediately. Immediate brawl.
Yeah, hilarious. Yeah, I never knew much about Isaac Garendo, but they're into their 3rd string running back, and the guy's a stud. I can't believe Shanahan, he can just bring guys from anywhere, anywhere. Isaac Garendo. Do we got a Garendo here? And boom, he comes in and he almost averages 10 yards a carry. Shocking, man. You can plug almost anybody in there, and they're going to be a great running back in that offensive attack.
Yeah, that Shanahan offense is something to behold. That's for sure. With the fact, and also too, the 49ers, obviously, they know their player personnel to an extreme, because you can't just pick guys and be like, yeah, no, I guess you're up. Oh, by the way, who's that again? It's Garendo. Oh, okay. He's good, right? Oh, yeah. He's good.
Yeah, it's shocking. They're amazing at finding the talent and just chugging along no matter who falls. They're able to plug in that hole right away. And yeah, great attack again. Purdy looked great. Kittle looked great. Debo got a touchdown. Everybody contributed. Good defense as well. And even though Geno Smith had a pretty decent game with over 300 yards passing a game, the 2 picks were really bad. Mustafa and Renardo Green had the picks for the Niners. Geno's still up there, neck and neck with Dak Prescott for most passing yards. CJ Stroud is number 3 right now. Geno's having a great year, but yeah, Seahawks, not a great performance. Out of the NFC West here, we're going to talk about the Cardinals in a sec, and the Rams had a bye this week, so there's no games there. The 49ers host the Chiefs on Sunday, which I'm really thinking will be probably game of the week. That's in the later window on Sunday. Seahawks go to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Your Falcons, that should be a fun game to watch too.
Oh yeah, that'll be a great game. I'm looking forward to that. It's if both teams want to go forward, those are must wins for both teams.
Okay, Cardinals, as I mentioned, they fell to 2-4 with a 34-13 loss to the Green Bay Packers. Packers are now 4-2. Packers got two guys back that were really necessary for them to keep winning. Jordan Love returned, looked like he never left with 4 TD passes. Romeo Dobbs came back from his 1-game suspension after not being happy for getting the ball very much. He was able to get a couple touchdowns himself. So Jordan said, "I got you, man. I got you. Thanks for coming back." And the Green Bay dominated like crazy. They looked really fantastic. And it was 24-0 here before Arizona tried coming back. Arizona got a couple of scores to cut it down to 24-13, but then the Packers scored the last 10 points, finished it off, and very, very, very great win for Green Bay. Yeah, it doesn't look close. There was a period of time where it looked like maybe Arizona could make a comeback, but Green Bay slammed the door on that, got the win.
Yeah, got the win. By the way, winning cures everything.
Yeah.
Well, whatever was going on with Dobbs, well, it's like, oh, don't worry, I'll just give you a couple touchdowns and then you should be happy again, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then
Yeah.
you are. There you go. The thing with the Dobbs situation is that I think he probably thought he should be getting the ball more because he should be the number one option. I'm sorry, man. No, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Everybody there is really good.
Yeah.
Like all those receivers could potentially be the number one option. That's why there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that's actually a good thing because now you can't load up on one guy.
Yeah, you're not getting double, triple teamed, right?
Yeah, so that's a great situation to be in. I don't understand how the young man doesn't understand that. I think he understands it now because somebody probably talked to him, sat him down, and a lot of other people were probably like, "Oh, okay, here's the situation. First off, you can't just not show up for practice because then we think you died.
Yeah,
that's not good,
right?
Right?
Yeah,
you can't just do that." And he's already been on record to say he wish he'd handled that situation differently because he should have handled it differently.
Yeah.
But anyways, regardless, he's happy. The team's moving forward, and the Green Bay Packers are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Green Bay's got Watson, great 44-yard touchdown catch. He contributed as well. Jaden Reed got a touchdown. He's great. Jacobs out of the backfield looking awesome. And yeah, this team's super solid. That bum Xavier never got a pick. First time in 6 games. What the hell was he doing? Took the day off, I guess. Xavier McKinney, no picks this time. What are you doing? That was 5 games in a row. Come on, you could have made it 6 and kept pushing it all year. 17 in a row. Come on.
I'm sure he'll make up the next game with 2.
Yeah, true. Kyler Murray, mostly stifled. This team, yeah, they have some good games. They have some bad games. Obviously, Marvin Harrison getting the concussion, getting knocked out of the game, really is a blow to them. Let's hope that he isn't out very long.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a very important aspect of that offense. So hopefully, as you just said, his time off is going to be limited.
And it's a battle between the Cardinals and the Chargers on the Monday nighter. That's the later Monday nighter, 6 o'clock Pacific start, 9 o'clock Eastern time. And the Packers host the Texans Sunday, 10 a.m. Should be great. Jordan Love against CJ Stroud. Really look forward to that one.
Oh, that's going to be a great game.
Yeah,
that's a marquee matchup for sure.
We touched on this game earlier a little bit. The NFC North now. The Vikes had a bye. They're 5-0, still leading the division. Talked about the Lions earlier. They're 4-1 in second place. And the NFC North is suddenly the greatest division in the NFL because the Bears and the Packers are both 4-2. So we've got a 5-0 team, a 4-1 team, and 2 4-2 teams. Who ever would have saw that at the beginning of the season?
Nobody would have thought. No, I didn't see that. You didn't see that. Nobody sees that.
Pretty wild, yeah. So we go to the London game. The Bears just mauled the Jags 35-16. Both Cole Kmet and Keenan Allen had 2 touchdown catches each. Cole had back-to-back touchdowns early, 31 and 2-yard catches. And then Keenan's 2 short catches were 9 yards and 3-yarders. Caleb looked good with 226 yards passing and 4 TDs with only 1 pick. Also 56 yards on the ground on 4 carries. DeAndre Swift looked good as well. He scored a touchdown on the ground and had over 100 yards on the ground and through the air. Great defense, 4 sacks, 1 pick by Josh Blackwell. And I think, we've talked quite often about Deshaun Watson being the worst contract in the NFL, but I actually think Trevor Lawrence's contract is worse. And he's the highest paid quarterback right now in the NFL. And man, this team is 1-5, going nowhere fast. And it's trouble down there in Jacksonville.
He's not playing like one of the highest paid quarterbacks. He's not playing well enough to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks.
No.
It's unfortunate. The Jags are in a serious spiral. They need to figure something out. That's why Doug Peterson's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And as you've said before, maybe flying coach on his way back after next weekend. We shall see.
That might be.
But yeah, they need something because they're just plummeting down the ranks in the NFL. And if they don't figure it out soon, well, actually, you know what? I don't think they are going to figure it out this year. I honestly think this season might be a lost season for them already.
Yeah. Doug Peterson said there needs to be a culture change there. We'll have to kind of decipher exactly what that means. Andre Cisco, their safety, had the lone pick off Caleb Williams, and he ended up actually saying that a bunch of the defensive players quit in the second half. They weren't actually trying, and that's some damning words there. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of that. They have some good offensive players. Evan Engram, he had 10 catches for over 100 yards. Gabe Davis had a couple of TDs after he left Buffalo. He's been contributing there. They got Christian Kirk. They got Dearness Johnson, Brian Thomas Jr., Tank Bigsby. They got a lot of weapons on offense there, but their defense stinks. And if they just quit in that second half, that's really damning. And yeah, we'll see what comes out of Cisco's comments.
That's never good because I believe that he's one of their defensive leaders. If that guy actually comes out and said the team quit, oh man, yeah, I guess that's that culture thing that he was mentioning that needs to change.
Yeah,
because you can't do that. You get paid to play, people, so you got to try hard regardless of what the score is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
matter of pride.
Matter of pride. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, the Jags host the Patriots in London. So that's the 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 Eastern time. The Bears get a bye, so we'll see how they get coming out of the bye. And yeah, what a division this NFC North is. Man, every team is dominating and playing really super well. Let's talk about the Falcons against the Panthers. The Panthers, they fall here. Oh no, we got to focus on the NFC South because we've talked about that whole NFC North so far. The South has the Falcons at 4-2 and the Bucks at 4-2, top of the division. Saints are 2-4 and the Panthers are 1-5. So the Falcons got a 38-20 victory over the Panthers. They are 4-2 now. Panthers fall to 1-5. The Falcons relied less on Kirk Cousins as they had almost 200 yards rushing, 2 TDs from Bijan Robinson and 1 from Tyler Algier. Cousins threw 509 last week, 225 this week. Wasn't needed. Those guys, Algier and Bijan, were able to just 1-2 punch those guys to victory here.
Yeah, more of a balanced attack this time around, with Cousins only throwing for 225 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown being to Drake London, who had 6 receptions, 74 yards. But yeah, their rushing attack was what won them the day. with Robinson with just under 100 yards with 2 touchdowns, and now Jared was just over 100 yards and a touchdown. But I do want to say the lone bright spot for the Panthers that has been their bright spot actually for, I want to say, for the bulk of the season has been our Canadian Chuba Hubbard, once again with almost 100 yards rushing off of 18 carries.
Yeah, he's been great, and such a breath of fresh air there. They get the guys they get the production they need from the running game, but they don't have a dominating receiving core. And Dalton's come in there, played pretty well. Unfortunately, threw a couple picks in this game, and that led to the loss. Have you ever heard Xavier Legette being interviewed?
Yeah, he has one of the harshest Southern accents that I've ever heard in my life. When he talks, I don't really understand. I don't know what he's saying.
No,
I'm just gonna be honest. I don't know.
You can't really decipher what's coming out of his mouth. It's amazing, unbelievable, and I'm shocked because the NFL, you need to have a lot of communication. You need to be pretty smart. He comes across as not very educated, not very smart, and when he talks, who knows what he says? It's so bizarre.
Yeah, like that's some Southerner like twang that it's just on another level. Like other people from that area, that region, they know exactly what he's saying, but for the rest of us, no idea.
I know.
Zero idea.
That's hilarious and shocking. Yeah, beyond belief. Okay, the Falcons host the Seahawks Sunday. That's the early window, and the Panthers go to Washington, as I mentioned, and that's in the later window, 105. Okay, so we had the NFC South battle between the Falcons and the Panthers. We also had another NFC South battle between the Bucks and the Saints. On paper, this was a blowout. When you look at it, 51-27, the Bucks win. But if the Saints just played more than one quarter, they are being able to compete. The Saints scored 27 points in the second quarter, and that's all they got. They never scored in the other 3 quarters. This is a 60-minute game, 15-minute quarters, guys. Don't just show up for one quarter and expect to win. In Baker, we trust. We got another massive game out of Baker. I decided to put my Tampa Bay Old Warren sock jersey next to me to honor the Bucks and an amazing performance. Holy cow. This team ended up stomping on them. The only thing actually that kept us close was 3 picks by Baker. He had a fantastic game, but 3 mistakes there kept this game a little closer than it should have been.
Yeah. Even though he did give the ball back to the Saints 3 times, didn't matter. The Saints didn't do anything with it. I guess Rattler just didn't have it in him to do something with it. The Rattler. Tucker was awesome. He had 14 carries, 136 yards and a touchdown, along with 3 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. And then Irving was awesome with 14 carries, 81 yards and 1 touchdown. So their rushing attack was on point. For the Bucks, completely on point. And then Mayfield, I think I'm going to say this is his favorite target to throw at, which is Godwin, 11 receptions, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Bucks were awesome. And the Saints, like you said, if they played like a couple more quarters, this could have been a very interesting game. Because I believe going into halftime, the score was 27-24. So I thought this was going to be an amazing game. Because look at all the offense. And then, the Bucks kept scoring, and then the Saints called it a day. So
I actually didn't realize that Spencer Rattler was in college. He was the #1 quarterback until Caleb Williams came along and usurped him. Ended up taking over his job. Rattler ended up using that transfer window, moved to a different college, and ended up still getting his opportunity, getting drafted into the NFL. But Caleb Williams took his job. He said, okay, I got to go somewhere else and prove myself. He did so, and finally got his opportunity in the NFL this weekend.
That's a story I didn't know. That's hey, at least he still made it to the big show. But just kind of goes to show that there's still levels, even in college, even in the NFL. It's like, hey, if you're better, you're better. You get to play.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, pretty well. Um, yeah, yeah. Saints just got, as I said, dominated. Rattler, pretty good debut with 243 yards passing and a touchdown. Unfortunately, got picked a couple of times, but yeah, this was great. Chris Olave got a concussion, and that is tough for the Saints. Also, Rashid Shaheed ended up getting hurt too after he scored a punt return touchdown. He ended up saying something was wrong, I think hamstring or something. So let's hope he's not out long. They are playing the Thursday nighter against they're hosting the Broncos on the Thursday nighter, so they'll have to get healthy very, very soon. The Bucks host the Ravens, and that's the Monday nighter. Man, one of the that's the early Monday nighter. I think that one's definitely going to be tuned in on my TV for sure. Those two teams are really elite offensively right now in this season.
yeah, no, that's going to be a great game. Definitely going to be a matchup that a lot of people are going to be interested in watching. And just real quick, going back to Olave, I think that's a little bit concerning now with the amount of concussions that he's received over his career. That's something that I think the medical staff for the Saints are definitely trying to keep an eye on now.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not good to hear. Okay, speaking about the Monday nighter, we got a Monday nighter tonight. This is an all New York battle as the Jets host the Bills. The Bills are favored by 2.5 points. The money line is minus 135 for Buffalo. Both teams are 3-2 against the spread so far this season. Obviously, this is the Jets' first game without fired head coach Robert Saleh, and Jeff Ulbrich is taking over as the new interim head coach. I don't know why they decided with Ulbrich needed to be the guy, because their defense has been fairly solid. It's been their offense that has been horrible, just brutal beyond belief. And I think they need a guy in charge of offense that comes in and takes over this whole team. I just think they made a really wrong move, making a knee-jerk reaction. I think this isn't going to help much, having the D coordinator in charge and trying to slot some other guys up in the ranks. It's the wrong direction in my opinion.
Yeah, because like their offense is it's anemic. Like
Yeah.
it's not doing what everybody thought it should have the potential to do. So whatever their play calling is, whatever that strategy is, throw that out the window and you got to come up with something better.
Yeah.
Something that actually works, because whatever they're doing right now doesn't work.
They demoted Nathaniel Hackett. Todd Downing is the new play caller. We'll see what we have going forward. I don't think this will be the second coming of the greatest show on turf. I think the Jets are in for some more tough days ahead. Oh, I do have it written here. Robert Saleh supposedly tried to hire a bunch of guys in the offseason: Eric Bieniemy, Cliff Kingsbury, Arthur Smith, and who else? Oh, Luke Getsy to replace Hackett, and we're not able to convince anybody to come across. So they were left with them. Start the season, as I mentioned earlier, 2-3, only 93 points scored in those 5 games, exactly the same as Zach Wilson delivered them last year. And so we'll see what we have tonight. Hassan Reddick and his contract has been stepped up as a big priority, and his management team, CAA, actually dropped Hassan. They said, we can't deal with you anymore. You're off the books, and see you later. Good luck. And so he signed this week with Drew Rosenhaus. Drew's going to be there tonight, sitting probably in the owner's box, hanging out with Woody and trying to make this happen. Reddick has actually lost almost $10 million with fines and lost salary so far. He only had a $14.25 million contract going in this year, non-guaranteed, and he's already lost the bulk of it. Drew has dealt with a lot of owners, a lot of management teams, and put together a lot of big contracts. So I'm quite hopeful that this will be done this week, and Hassan can get back into the fold and help this team a lot more.
Again, you know what? At least he's been pretty upfront exactly about how he was going to navigate this whole situation. Like, he's been absolutely upfront. So you knew what was going to happen with him. And now it's just like a point of pride that he's like, well, no, I'm just not going to budge until you guys do something. Now that it's come to the point for the Jets where they're 2-3 and they look like they're not looking very good, I think he's going to get what he wants now.
I think so. Yeah.
I think he gets what he wants.
Yeah. The Bills are out their defensive tackle, Ed Oliver, tonight. That's a big blow. He's a very key piece for them. When he sat out a couple of games the past 2 seasons, they haven't won at all, and looked like they missed him big time. So we'll see. But yeah, look forward to that one tonight. We'll have to record it because we're both going to be having turkey dinner and everything. So we'll have to watch it right after. Okay, the AFC East has the Bills at 3-2, the Jets at 2-3, the Dolphins also at 2-3, but they're on a bye, and the Patriots sit at 1-5. Let's talk about the Patriots. They end up getting beaten 41-21 by the Texans. This was CJ Stroud against rookie Drake May. Drake May looked not too bad. I thought had some moments. 3 touchdowns, but a couple of picks were, definitely something that was tough. Houston ended up forcing 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 picks, and I think that really swayed the game in the Texans' favor. I think this was a 4-1 team against a 1-4 team. Texans now 5-1. Patriots 1-5. Yeah, I guess most people had this exactly playing out how it did.
Yeah, exactly. Texans are by far and away the better team, and they showed it. They demonstrated that. Stroud was good enough, just under 200 yards, but 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Joe Mixon was absolutely awesome. 13 carries, 102 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 touchdown receiving off of 2 receptions for 30 yards. Their ground game, their rushing attack was fantastic, because Pierce also added another 8 carries for 76 yards in the touchdown. Diggs and Dell both had receiving touchdowns from Stroud. Yep. They picked up where Nico Collins was a little bit missed, obviously, because of his injury, but they picked up for him, and they stepped up their game.
Yeah. Will Anderson was great for them on defense. He had 3 sacks by himself. They got picks from Eric Murphy and Kalen Bullock, and Kaimi Fairburn had another couple field goals for them. Drake May doesn't have the same type of weapons that Houston has. He used Demario Douglas, Keyshawn Butte, and Hunter Henry for his 3 touchdown passes. Marcus Jones had the pick of Stroud, but too little too late, not enough. Patriots go to London to take on the Jags. 2 1-5 teams. Wow, can't wait to wake up early and watch the London game. Yeah, don't care much about that one. The Texans go to the Packers, as I mentioned earlier. Should be a great game there. Okay, we've got the AFC West now. The Chiefs lead at 5-0 in the division. They have had a bye this week. The Chargers are next at 3-2, Broncos at 3-3, and the Raiders sit at 2-4. The Chargers ended up getting a 23-16 victory over division rival Broncos. They're both 3-2 on the year, and the Chargers got up 23-0, and it looked like this was going to be just an absolute blowout. They were going to kill them, and then they ended up having to hold on. Were able to sneak out the victory. 2 onside kicks happened at the end. after Denver got it within a touchdown. First onside kick, ended up having 2 penalties on both sides, offset, had a second opportunity at the onside kick, almost recovered it, could not do so, and the Chargers get the win.
Yeah, the Chargers, yeah, they had to hang on for this victory. I thought that the Chargers were going to score more points than what they did. I thought, I'm like, okay, so this is gonna they're firmly in control. And the fact that they had to hang on for dear life to get this victory, I was just like, I guess that's where the Chargers are at. And that's where their football team is at. Herbert was fine, 237 yards and then a touchdown. That touchdown was thrown to Vidal, who had 2 receptions for 40 yards. Dobbins was awesome, 25 carries, 96 yards for a touchdown. Yeah, at least the Chargers managed to hold on. The defense was just enough.
You said hanging on for dear life, and at first, beginning of the game, Harbaugh ended up saying that his heartbeat started going like crazy. He had an attack of arrhythmia. That the heartbeat got up to 250 beats a minute, and he was like, "Uh-oh, what the hell's going on here?" Had to leave the field. They asked him about it after, and he said, "Oh, yeah, that happens all the time. Actually, well, it's happened twice right at the beginning of the game. I had to leave the first game, had to leave this one. We're 2-0 in arrhythmia games, so I'm doing well." And everybody was like, "What? Like, he's talking 2-0 in arrhythmia games. Like, let's hope we don't go for 3-0." Glad they got it sorted out. He got back to the sideline and finished the game, but a little scary, a little episode there.
Actually,
What's
I
that?
wanted to add something to that
Yeah.
because when the Ravens won their game, his brother John was said, somebody from the organization said, "John, you're done. Let's go." And they called him off the stage because he needed to figure out what was going on with his brother. And I thought,
Okay. Wow.
first off, super classy by the Ravens organizations to immediately let him know
Boom.
this is what's happening.
Nice.
You're done. You're done. Like no more questions for the head coach. It's
Nice.
over. And like I thought that was actually pretty
Wow.
cool that they immediately notified him and said, "You're done. Let's go."
Very good. Yeah. Wow. Very
Yeah.
classy. Awesome. I didn't see that. So yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kimani Vidal. He's actually the great nephew of Hank Aaron, Hammering Hank, who was the home run king for 33 years when he passed Babe Ruth on the all-time home run list until Steroid Barry came along and beat his record. He held the record for ever and ever. And man, that's awesome to have Hank Aaron as your great uncle. That's incredible and pretty wild to see him contributing to the Chargers' victory and getting a nice touchdown and getting a victory. And wow, great athletic family there.
Yeah. At least now we know where the athletic gifts are coming from. You absolutely have figured that one out. No brainer.
Yeah. Bo Nix. I've watched most of his games this year, and he's looked pretty damn terrible most of them. Contributing passing of 50, 80, 90 yards a game. This one he had 216 yards passing with a couple touchdowns and 61 on the ground. This guy is super elusive though. Man, when the Chargers almost had a few sacks of him and he was able to somehow elude them, just shed tackles and get open space and get out there and get some positive yardage. I'm actually, after this game, I have a lot more faith in Bo Nix than I had for the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah. You kind of forget that they do have a winning record because they do. And the fact that he shows flashes.
Yeah.
He shows flashes that he's good. Like this could go down as probably being one of the best quarterback drafts that we've ever had if everybody pans out.
Start doing well,
And,
I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and especially if Bo Nix does, because I kind of like I've always kind of thought I don't know if he's going to pan out, but even if he does, yeah,
Yeah, could be
pretty
one of the
amazing.
best ever. You're right. Great class. I want to make mention of Justin Strainad. he continues to impress on defense. This for the second week in a row. He actually missed 3 years as a linebacker with a serious wrist injury. He had to have surgery on his wrist. During his rehab, he wasn't able to lift any weights, wasn't able to do any maneuvers. They moved him to special teams for the past 3 seasons. He finally was 100% healthy this year, finally moved him into a starting role in the defense, and he's been looking fantastic. He had 5 tackles, 2 assists, and a sack yesterday. And Sean Payton was asked about him, and he said, "Oh man, this guy's a warrior. I just wasn't sure if I was ever going to employ him back as a linebacker. Super happy I did, and he's really contributing."
That's awesome. That's fantastic that he was able to battle through said injury and finally get to the position that he was always meant to play.
Yeah. As I mentioned, the Chargers play the Cardinals, and that's the late game Sunday, the 6 o'clock Pacific kickoff there. Okay, we had the Steelers playing the Raiders. This was a game in Vegas, but I think there was more Steelers fans in the stands than Raiders fans. It was insane. I know Steelers do travel well and go to a lot of road stadiums, but I honestly think there was more Steelers fans than Raiders fans there. It was nuts. Even we watched part of the game. Lorraine mentioned the Raiders are her favorite team, and she's like, "Hey, what the hell's going on here? This doesn't feel like a home game at all." And they were able to cheer on the Steelers to a 32-13 victory. Steelers are now 4-2. Raiders fall to 2-4. Justin Fields, Najee Harris, and Chris Boswell were big, helping the Raiders get this win.
Yeah, they were fantastic. They were big, and obviously, I guess this Steelers win might have been just a home game for them because they whooped them. They whooped them pretty good. It looks like, I guess, the Gardner Minshew experiment is over now that Aiden O'Connell's back in. And would you look at that? Nothing's changed. Anyway, so 27-40 for O'Connell, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, whatever. But Fields was good, and he was good in a different way. It wasn't with his passing; it was with his feet. Because he had 2 touchdowns running them in. And Najee Harris, the old warrior, 14 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. So their rushing attack was on point. Steelers get the win.
Yeah. I saw this hilarious Instagram post by Najee Harris, and they said that or the guy, he was on a podcast, and the guy asked him, "Tell me about who called you first when you got drafted by the Steelers." And he said, "Oh, that's a funny story. Actually, Snoop Dogg was the guy that called me first." And I was talking to Snoop, and I was pretty shocked. I know Snoop's a big Steelers fan, and somehow he heard before the team. And then all of a sudden, Tomlin called me, and he said, "My family was partying so hard, and they were hammered, drinking a whole bunch of booze, that they were so loud that I couldn't even hear Tomlin what he was saying. And I kept telling them to shut up, and they didn't. And Tomlin ended up hanging up on me." And he goes, "I had to like leave the house, go out to the garage, and recall him back and talk to him because my family was acting like such drunken fools, and they weren't even allowing me to have the call with the Steelers." And I thought it was hilarious. Snoop makes the call, Tomlin makes the call, and he can't even talk to him because it's so loud there.
No, I thought that I've heard the same thing. It was funny because it's like I think what he said that his family was drinking was Patron and Hennessy mixed together. And he was just like, "You should never drink that, by the way. That's not something you should drink." So, yeah, the family was having a good old time, and understandably so. Understandably.
True, yeah. Yeah, they all just hit the lottery jackpot.
Yeah.
Patrenacy, give me another one, give me another one. Yeah. But Snoop making the call before Tomlin, that's hilarious too.
No, that's too funny.
I love Snoop so much. I got a little Snoop bobblehead little character here.
Nice.
I'm shocked that Snoop Dogg is so widely popular just amongst everybody. Like, doesn't matter who. It seems like everybody loves Snoop.
Everybody does love Snoop because he just does awesome stuff. He does unexpected things like the the show that he had with
Martha.
Martha Stewart. I was gonna say, like, the other person that came out of jail and stuff like that. Oh, it's Martha Stewart, right? It's probably, it's like, no, she's a little bit harder than Snoop. Snoop, I don't know if you've ever done any time, but she has.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, amazing. But good to see Snoop back in the news always. Yeah. Steelers host the Jets Sunday nighter. The Raiders go to the LA Rams. That's also Sunday, and that's in the later window there. We've covered the AFC North. The Ravens are 4-2, Steelers are 4-2, Bengals are 2-4, and the Browns have fallen to 1-5. The last game out of the whole schedule we have to cover is the Titans and Colts. That's in the AFC South. Texans lead the division at 5-1. Colts sit second at 3-3. Titans 1-4, and the Jags are 1-5. The Colts scored the first touchdown on a 22-yard catch from Josh Downs from Joe Flacco, and the last touchdown was passed by Joe Flacco to Michael Pittman, 10-yard catch. That gave Indy the win over the Titans, 20-17. I think Flacco should stay in there, in my opinion. Anthony Richardson comes back. I think Flacco should be the guy. Utilize it as like a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation. Get Flacco, being able to tutor him. And I think Indy has a better chance of winning games with Flacco other than AR in there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because at least Flacco can teach him one thing. You see what happens when I run? It's slide. Slide.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep showing you. You're supposed to slide
over and over and over. Yeah.
over and over and over again. Just slide. Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I think it'd be beneficial at this point in time for Anthony Richardson to take a step back and take a look and see how Flacco's running the offense and stuff, and how he's progressing through his reads and all of those things. I think it would be very beneficial for him, and also for the team to consistently reinforce the fact you're not Josh Allen, you're not 6'6" and a huge monster. You need to slide.
Yeah.
So that you can preserve your NFL career, so it can be as long as it possibly can be.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The Titans, oh my God, Will Levis, horrible numbers again. 16 for 27 for 95 lousy yards. Threw one touchdown, but also had a pick. They have some weapons there. Tony Pollard is good. DeAndre Hopkins is good, but man, Levis, holy cow, this guy is bad. I don't know who they actually have as backup there, because I think it's time to turn to him. Titans go to Buffalo, play Sunday, early window. The Colts host the Dolphins, and that's also the early window. Okay, UFC. We had a card this past weekend. This was Fight Night 244, UFC from the Apex Las Vegas 98. The main event ended up being the fight of the night. Really great battle between Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira in the main event. Split decision victory over Royval ended up getting. This was a really, really fun fight to watch. Back and forth. I thought Royval won rounds 1, 3, and 5. And both judges, Chris Lee and Ron McCarthy, agreed with me. Sal Diamato had rounds 1, 2, and 4 going to Taira and gave him the 48-47 nod. What did you have when you would have scored it yourself?
I had exactly the way that you had it. 1, 3, and 5. I thought Taira definitely won, obviously, round 2 and round 4, where he was able to ground him and keep him grounded. Take him down with that body triangle that he had locked in. So 2 and 4 were definitely Taira's.
Yeah.
But 1, 3, and 5, especially round 5, when Royval seemed to actually turn it up.
Yeah.
And that, for me, that said everything I needed to see, which was that Royval won the fight.
Yeah, for sure. Royval asked for a title shot against the winner between the current champ Alexander Pantoja and the UFC newcomer Kay Ascura. I'm pretty pissed off that Ascura is getting an immediate title shot. He's the former champ of Ryzen, but I could ask every single one of our viewers and listeners, have you ever watched a Ryzen fight? No, they're not. Everybody's going to say no. I don't. I guess maybe that was contract negotiations for him to even come over. That was all he was going to do. But I think this isn't fair to guys like Royval who deserve a title shot right away. A newcomer immediately coming in and getting a title shot seems a little bit hokey and not that cool.
When did this happen? I wasn't even aware of this. Who's this dude? So obviously that was put in because that was the contract negotiation. Now, the only thing that needs to happen is that guy better be good.
Right.
Because if Pantoja blows him out, then it's like, yeah, well, you can't do that again. Like that's garbage. So I'm hoping that he puts on a hell of a fight, like one hell of a fight, like Chandler-esque type of fight.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only way that you're gonna have the fans say, "Oh, okay, I can see it," but at the same time, I'm with you. I don't agree with it though. I don't agree with it.
This fight was supposed to take place December the 10th on UFC 310. Royval, I believe, will probably be the guy just waiting in the wings. If anybody falls off, he'll be in there. Royval wants to get some revenge against Pantoja, who he lost to earlier. But I'm sure he just doesn't care. He'll fight either one of the guys if Asakura is able to come in and get the win. There's talk about maybe if Royval wants to fight any sooner, he would fight the winner between Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. That's happening in the next couple of weeks. And then talk about Tyra. First loss of his career, still had a very fantastic performance. I'm amazed that he didn't get stopped in that third round. He was in all sorts of trouble, really showed a lot of heart, determination, and was able to actually win the next round, which was pretty impressive. There's talk about him fighting Steve Erceg, who recently has had a title shot himself, had a setback, but is one of those top guys in the division. I think that would be a hell of a battle if they put that together.
I like that fight. I like that fight a lot. I think that's the fight that they should make with two up and comers and both of them now facing a loss. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. This was pretty interesting because every one of the bonuses was given to flyweights. I don't know if that's ever happened. Flyweights were not really considered great in UFC's eyes and Dana White's eyes for many years. Only actually coming into the UFC in the 2010s range, and to see every 50K bonus handed out to a flyweight on this card was pretty wild. I do have a bone to pick with the UFC, and I wish there was a way to make this work, but tell me another sport that recognizes the records of the amateurs before they make the pros. So let's say let's say a basketball player wasn't playing in the G League. Suddenly he had a winning record. They won 50 games and lost 30, and he scored 24 points a game and had 12 rebounds and had all that. The NBA's not recognizing those records. The NFL's not recognizing your college records coming in. Why is the UFC recognizing these regional records of guys that are fighting tomato cans sometimes, tough opponents here and there, but obviously just all over the world, regional circuit, a guy can come in with a record of 16-0 and suddenly be like highly regarded. But why did the UFC say, oh yeah, we can keep his record going? All the fights that he's fought all over the world, doesn't matter who, doesn't matter when.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I've never thought of it that way because I've always just taken it as this is how it is. This is how it is. Something that they could possibly look into, like as soon as you come into the UFC, then you start back at 0. But then at the same time, be kind of weird for everybody to be at 0, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
0-0. I think that's probably partially the reason why they just take on the regional records or whatever. Like as soon as you turn professional, I think that's when they take on the records. It's not necessarily that they're taking your record as an amateur. It's
No,
when you turn pro.
when
I
you
thought,
turn pro, yeah, when you get
yeah,
actually paid, yeah, it's
yeah.
when
So
you
when you
get paid,
start getting paid, right? So
yeah.
I, yeah, I think they do that just because you can't just have guys coming in. It's like, oh, it's 0-0. It's like this guy's 0-0. It's like everybody's 0-0. So yeah, so I think that's part of the reason. And also too, I wanted to mention one other thing real quick about the flyweights. Demetrius Johnson just recently retired.
Yeah.
I thought it was just awesome that Dana White was one of the first people to say, well, he's definitely in the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like I was not expecting that. I thought there was actually some sort of animosity or beef between him and Demetrius. But when he actually said that, I was like, oh, it was shocking to me.
Yeah. Oh, you look at Demetrius's record, it's
Oh,
unbelievable how many
yeah,
title defenses he had, how long he had the belt for. Just one of the greatest MMA athletes of all time. And I'm glad that, yeah, Dana White's a bigger man. And even though they had the differences, that's just put aside now. And, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So that's
yeah,
really good. One of the reasons why I looked up this record was I looked at Sean Sharaf. He came in at 4-0. And not one guy that he fought in those 4-0 fights had a winning record. Most of them were 0-0, 0-1,
yeah.
0-3. And I was like, oh man, like, does this guy deserve to be even in the UFC when you're seeing him fight, almost nobody's and with records, that you couldn't even really see. And so it's just super weird. And strange. I guess boxing's done it for so long,
Yeah.
but most of those guys that are reaching 20-0 and more, most of them have fought. Most guys have just been easy cakewalk, easy
Yep.
tomato cans, walkovers, guys that they're supposed to beat, and they pad that record. If
Yep.
they didn't pad that record and they actually faced comparable opponents, maybe we don't see many undefeated records at all.
That's true. But then there's some boxers that don't pad,
Yeah.
that they just come in and they just go after it hard right away, like a Lomachenko.
Right.
Or like our undisputed now light heavyweight champion, Beterbiev.
Right.
They come at it right away because they're like, you know what? My amateur record is so out of this world. And for both of those fighters I just mentioned, their amateur records were out of this world.
Yeah.
That when they come into the pros, they're like, no, I'm already a pro. I've been a pro for a while now.
Beterbiev actually had 300 amateur fights, more than 300 amateur fights. So, yeah, his record wasn't carried on.
Yeah.
It was boom, start fresh, and he fought a lot of tough guys right away. We are out of time. Do you want to cover a couple more fights on this card before we call it a day?
How about with this? We'll do the main card. We'll finish off the main card, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay. In the co-main event, we had another split decision. This was the Iron Turtle against Brad Tavares. I didn't realize that the Iron Turtle actually sounds like a turtle on the microphone. That was kind of bizarre and weird. He sounds very strange. He got the 29-28 decision on two judges' cards, Mike Bell and Eric Colon. Junichiro Kamijo gave it 29-28 to Tavares. The second round was the disputed round. How did you have it scored?
I thought Park won. I thought Park won. I thought Tavares had the first round, and then I thought Park just edged him in the second and definitely won the third. Okay. So that's where I had it. And yeah.
I had it scored that way too. I think he was able to I thought he was able to put the pressure on enough. He landed enough of the strikes, and I thought he won 2 rounds. So even though it was a split decision, I agreed with the prevailing opinion on the two judges, and they got it. The Turtles now won 5 of his last 6, and maybe a top 15 gig is finally coming up next. I started looking at that top 15 and saw maybe who he could fight. Almost all the guys already have fights scheduled, so he's going to have to wait to see how it shakes out. But Chris Curtis might be the guy that he should go after. Maybe Curtis is number 15. He fights Roman Kopylov January 11th. So maybe the winner of that or go after Curtis there. Next week, we've got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez at number 13, fighting number 14, Michelle Pereira. That's the main event coming up this Saturday. So that's 13 and 14. Kamzat Chimaev is 12. He fights Robert Whitaker October 26th, UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. Jack Hermansson's number 11. I think maybe too much of a leap. So yeah, forget top 10. Maybe Chris Curtis, or the other guy I was thinking of was maybe Kelvin Gastelum. Maybe that's the guy that's up and down recently. Might be a really good battle between the two of them.
I like that one. That's a good matchmaking. I think Gastelum would probably be the best out of all those that you just mentioned.
Yeah, think so. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the Chidi Njokuani. He won a unanimous decision over Jared Gordon. This to me really wasn't close. I thought Gordon looked overmatched. I thought that Njokuani was just way too much, really good at every aspect. The only thing that Gordon was doing was trying to clinch and control against the cage, but he wasn't trying to throw elbows. He wasn't trying to throw knees, punches. He just was trying to stall it. I didn't like his style at all. He just looked really overmatched and easy. I thought pretty easy win by Njokuani, even though it went to decision.
Yeah, me too as well. Every time that Gooden tried to take him down, and Njokuani was able to pop right back up.
Yeah.
Even when he was grounded for a bit, Njokuani was very savvy at knowing when to explode and when to get back to his feet. And then when they were grappling along the fence, at least he was throwing strikes, and he was kept throwing the knees, hard knees to Gooden as the fight wore on. Yeah. I think he even connected at one point with a hard knee to the chin of Gooden. Played it off well, but I think he was pretty shook up from that one knee that he took. Yeah, easy win by Njokuani. I thought he was the more diverse striker, the better stand-up fighter, all of that.
I'm looking towards Njokuani's next fight. That was his second straight win, but he lost 3 before that, so a little bit of up and down. I noticed that Song Kanan also was 2 and 3 in his last 5. He's coming off a win over Ricky Glenn on UFC 305 just recently. I think that would be a great battle. Or I noticed Jiang Li, the Leech, he might be a good competitive battle for Njokuani.
Yeah, both of those work. I probably lean more towards the Leech because I think that'd be more of an exciting fight to watch.
Sure. They're both about the same age too. Leech 36 and Njokuani's 35. Both have slowed a little, and I think it would be a really good competitive battle. I think Gooden, a little bit of a downslide recently now, maybe taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio, who has only 1 win in his last 5. Both these guys would be hungry, and it might be a better fight. Okay, for some reason, 50K did not come Grant Dawson's way. I thought he should have got a bonus. A really, really great KO of Rafa Garcia, 142 of the second round. But he deserved 50K for what he said on the microphone. I loved his banter between or after the fight. He ended up saying that his wife had a quarter, a dump truck that you could bounce a quarter off of. She was his inspiration, and he said a lot of hilarious things on the mic. It was pretty epic, and it got a lot of viral moments there, and it was pretty hilarious. You don't remember what he said? You know,
I remember some of it. I think I may have stepped away for the best part of that because when I came back into the room, I saw her covering her hands and her face, and I thought, oh, I thought she's just embarrassed because he's just like, oh, I just have to thank my wife. Like, you know, I missed that part.
Okay.
I definitely missed that part.
Yeah, it was pretty funny what he was saying. She is a MMA fighter. Her name is Elle Dawson. She fights in the Invicta League. I heard that her social media accounts all got thousands of more followers after it immediately after he talked about her butt and how great it was. Suddenly everybody just tuned in social media and followed her. So smart on his part. and he says he's going to take a little break now to further her career. He said, I'm buying her a house and then I'm going to corner her and I'm going to help her win this Invicta title. He's 10-1-1 in the UFC, and man, he really could be moving up in this division. If he takes too long of a break, not smart, but I look out in 2025. Grant Dawson really should be moving up the ranks.
Yeah, definitely. He's not ranked, is he?
No.
But which is kind of funny if you think of his record
Yeah.
is 10-1-1.
Yeah.
He's 10-1-1 and he's still not ranked.
Yeah.
I think if I'm Grant Dawson, I'm not satisfied with like top 15. Give me a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Like if I'm him, I say my next fight, not a top 15, a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Give me a top 10 guy.
That's true. Yep. I I think a guy like Benoit Saint Denis, who's on a little bit of a downslide, has been highly regarded, and I think that would be close. He ended up saying that he doesn't think a lot of ranked opponents are going to even accept a fight from him because he is on such a blitz and he's down below them in the rankings. So he said he thinks he's going to have a hard time. He did call out Jakar Close, who's actually won his last 4 fights and might be a really stiff competition for him. So let's hope. Okay, moving to Daniel Rodriguez, yet another split decision. This one was, Alex Morono. To me, he won the first round quite handily and easily, and looked really good doing so. Really crisp, accurate strikes, and was backing D-Rod up with the shots. Then I think he got a bit gassed. And I think that lack of cardio really lent to him just not having the same type of skill set. I thought Rodriguez was able to, plottily win the next 2 rounds and get the victory. And too bad it was a split decision. Sal Diamato again was the guy that had the 29-28 for the loser. But to me, it was 1 round for Morono, no problem. But then I think the next 2 rounds were won by D-Rod.
Yeah, I absolutely have the same as you did. I thought Morono looked fantastic in that first round, and then his tank just started running on empty, going on to the next couple of rounds. And then that's where D-Rod took his opportunity, put on the pressure, got that jab working a lot more, and the striking was definitely more effective for D-Rod going into second and third rounds.
Yeah. That was great because it snapped D-Rod's 3-fight losing streak, really helped him get back on track. You lose 4 in a row, sometimes the UFC comes a knocking and says, sorry to hit the road. We need that spot, and glad that they didn't. There's talk about the next opponent being Jake Matthews for D-Rod, and the possibility of Morono fighting Phil Rowe. So we'll see how it pans out. And that's the main card. I want to send you on your way because I know you got some traveling to do. Head out to see your family. I'm going to still do the prelims and a little bit of sports news at the end of it on my own, but appreciate the 2 hours you gave me, man. Thanks so much on a Thanksgiving holiday. Do not forget your Tupperware. Grab enough leftovers for the entire week. Enjoy your dinner. Have a good time with your family. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And have a great Thanksgiving yourself.
Okay.
We'll talk later.
All right, man. Take care. Bye for now. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the prelims here. We had another killer enter the UFC with Ramazbek Tamirov. Comes in 18-2, and holy cow, this guy was a pit bull. He just came in super jacked, small guy, but just unbelievable amount of power. He just started stalking CJ Vergara, and you could feel that the end was near. 3 separate knockdowns of Vergara, the final one being a body shot that took him down to the canvas, and he was out. A really spectacular UFC debut, and got a $50K bonus for that win. And look out, another guy from Uzbekistan who has come into this UFC and took it by storm. Looked really good doing so. Yeah, I'm sure we'll see him very soon in the cage again. It was a quick and early stoppage, and took no damage, so he should be ready. Maybe we see him in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, one of the fights over there. But yeah, great opening performance. Pat Sabatini was great with a rear naked choke victory over Jonathan Pierce. Sabatini looked terrific doing so, getting the win at 4 minutes 6 seconds of the first round. He had been winning and losing his last 4 fights and was kind of up and down. But he's 6-2 in his UFC career and 19-5 overall. He just realized what he needed to do to take them out. Jonathan Pierce is great in grappling, but once Sabatini became the human backpack, sunk in the body triangle, and then was able to get that rear naked choke in, very tight choke, and was able to get the win there at featherweight. I like Temba Garimbo. He ended up getting a nice decision victory over Nico Price. I thought this was pretty easy. I thought he totally dominated. He outstruck Price 141-58, took him down 7 times, and outstruck him with significant strikes, 68-16. Garimbo is that guy that The Rock ended up giving a house to after he heard his $7 story as well, sleeping in the gym and coming over with $7 in his pocket. That's what The Rock said he did as well, and nice to see Garimbo get a very big win. This heavyweight battle between Junior Taffa and Sean Sharaf, this wasn't that fun to me. This was like you see at a barbecue or outside a bar, 2 big fat guys having a fight. Junior Taffa was able to outlast Sharaf, who was just so gassed that he could barely walk. Taffa didn't look much more in shape, but he was able to stuff 7 of the 8 takedowns, stayed off the mat, which was very crucial for his victory. Sharaf was so gassed in the second round that Taffa just started hitting him and taking him out, and was able to finally beat him. He outstruck him 71-54, and yeah, I don't like it. I don't know, Sharaf, making his UFC debut, not being able to last more than a round, not very cool. And yeah, I hope he goes back, learns some serious cardio, and can last into the second and third round. Julia Polastri ends up getting a decision victory over Corey McKenna. Nothing much to mention about that. Cody Hatton, a very nice win over Dan Argueta, decision victory there. And Clayton Carpenter, he got 50K for his 8th straight victory, 8-0 in MMA, beating a guy with twice as much experience, Lucas Rocha, with a 17-2 record now. He was able to get the rear naked choke victory over Rocha, get him submission in the second round. Yeah, he wouldn't tap for some reason and ended up going to sleep. The referee had to come in and pull Carpenter off. But as I mentioned, yeah, all the bonuses went to the guys in the flyweight division. So yeah, congratulations to Clayton Carpenter. Kick off the card, and you still got 50K. We've got a card this weekend. UFC Fight Night 245, Vegas 99. Same time as this past Saturday. 1 o'clock for prelims, 4 o'clock for the main card on Pacific Coast. This one has Anthony Hernandez against Michel Pereira. Hernandez is 12-2 in the UFC, 5 wins in a row. Unfortunately, he had 2 fights that were canceled this year already, Roman Dolidze and Ikram Aliskerov. And he was able to get the fight against Roman Kopylov, got his victory in February. Michel Pereira has at least twice as much experience, even maybe 3 times as much. 31-11 in his career, 8 wins in a row, beat Ihor Peteria at UFC 301 in May by guillotine choke. This fight between Fluffy and Demolidor was supposed to take place September 14th, UFC 306. They made a change, put it as the main event this weekend. Pereira has won 4 performance bonuses in a row, last 4 fights, and he's won 7 altogether. This should be a hell of a battle. Number 13, number 14, guys on big winning streaks and super tough. Hopefully Pereira comes in on weight. He's had a lot of issues with that in his career. Hopefully he can come in properly. The co-main event is a bantamweight battle between Rob Font and Adrian Yanez. No, sorry, and Kyler Phillips. This is number 10 against number 12 in the bantamweight division. Font is 20-8, but has lost his last 2 and 4 of his last 5. His last win was Yanez, TKO UFC 282 in April. He's lost in those 4 fights to Figueiredo, Sandgarden, Chito Vera, and Jose Aldo. So all really, really, really elite company. So, you know, you got to give him a little bit of a break there, a little bit of a pass. He, you know, has fought killers. Kyler Phillips is called the Matrix, number 12, 12-2 record. He's won his last 3. His last victory was UFC 299 in March, beat Pedro Munoz by decision. He's 6-1 in his UFC career, but definitely has not faced the high caliber quality that Rob Font has faced. So, yeah, we'll see. Step up in competition for Kyler. We'll see how he fares. We've got a fight between Charles Energy Johnson, who's 15-6, and actually just knocking on the door of the top 15. He ranks actually number 17 in the flyweight division. He's won 3 in a row. He's only 5-4 in the UFC, but 3 in a row is great, getting him on track. I hate the skullet. Wish he would just shave it off and go forward, but we'll see. He's fighting the Tibetan Eagle, Sue Mudajeri. Sorry, I should know how to pronounce that name. It escapes me at the moment. He's lost his last 2 fights. Tim Elliott beat him by arm triangle choke in December of 2023. His last win was by decision over Zaruk Adashev in January of 2021. So going back more than 3 years before his last victory. Only 3-3 in the UFC. I do want to make mention of the fight between Darren the Damage Elkins and the Pit Pineda, Daniel the Pit Pineda. This should be really, really good banging fight. Could be fight of the night. 2 bangers, just bring it a lot. Elkins 28-11 in his last in his UFC or in his MMA career. Won his last fight, getting a rear naked choke win over TJ Brown, October 14th of 23. His UFC career goes all the way back to March of 2010. 18-10 is the UFC career. So many tough guys. It's crazy. Like unbelievable amount of killers that he's fought. Charles Oliveira, Alex Volkanovski, Chad Mendes, Michael Johnson, Mirsad Bektic, Jonas Bermudez, Cub Swanson, and even local boy Tristan Connolly. Daniel Pineda is 28-16 in his MMA career. This is his second stint in the UFC. He fought back in the UFC from 2012 to 2014. Then he came back again in 2020. He had fought in the PFL, Bellator, and some other promotions. He's been able to be in so many wars around the world. He unfortunately has lost his last 2 by decision, both of them Nathaniel Wood, UFC 304, just back in July here. And his fight before that was against Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres, which was fight of the night that night. So, yeah, should be a heck of a great, incredible card as always. And yeah, 2 weeks in a row at the UFC Apex, and then we've got the Saudi Arabia one coming up in a couple weeks. So, okay, just want to mention the MLB playoffs are in full swing. Actually, game 2 of the NLCS just had first pitch about 20 minutes ago. And the Dodgers just absolutely crushed the New York Mets in game one. It was all LA as they won 9-0. They scored runs in the first, second, fourth, and eighth innings. Mookie Betts drove in 3 runs. Max Muncy 2. Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman both had 2 hits and 1 RBI each. The Dodgers pitching has been just incredible. They've not allowed a run in 33 consecutive innings coming into today. That ties an MLB record with Baltimore Orioles back in 1966. The Mets only got 3 hits on the day. This is pretty crazy. Game 2 is a bullpen day for the Dodgers. They had a bullpen day earlier in the playoffs here. They used 8 pitchers in 9 shutout innings against San Diego in game 4. So Dave Roberts is still feeling fine about doing this. But the Mets counter with one of their aces, Sean Manaea. He pitches for them. He looked awesome in his last game out. 7 innings, only allowed 3 hits and 1 run with 6 Ks in the Mets win over Philly 7-2. And so I'm giving edge to the Mets to even it out and get this series back to New York 1 apiece. Speaking of New York, that's where we'll be tonight for the Monday Nighter, as well as for game 1 of the American League Championship Series. The Yankees are hosting the Cleveland Guardians in their game 1 of their best of 7 matchup. First pitch goes 4:28 Pacific time, 7:28 Eastern. The Yankees pitcher is going to be Carlos Rodon, and the Guardians go with Alex Cobb for game 1. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome, and the Bronx will be spectacular. Game 2 goes Tuesday, same time. The pitchers will be Garrett Cole for the Yanks and Tanner Beebe for the Guardians. Then they have games Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, if necessary, if it goes past 4. Did want to mention the NHL kicked off this past week. Lots of teams have had 2 or 3 games. The Canucks have lost 2 games so far, both of them in overtime. One in overtime and one in a shootout. So they've got 2 points out of the first 2 games. 5 teams in the Western Conference won their first 3 games to all lead the Western Conference out of the gate. 1 team lost their first 3, and that is the Oilers. Oilers sit bottom of the Western Conference. Crazy. They started 2-9-1 last year, out of the gate with an 8-1 loss to the Canucks. Really couldn't get it together. Fired their coach, brought in a new guy. He was able to right the ship. They went all the way, won the Western Conference, represented them in the Stanley Cup final, went all the way to game 7, came 1 game from winning the cup. So this has been done before. Connor McDavid said, relax, we're good. 3 games in, 79 to go, no worries. But there's got to be a little bit of worry there, and I don't understand why. They lost on the weekend to their division, their state province rival, Calgary Flames 4-1, and didn't look good doing so. So we'll see how it pans out. So the Canucks will be playing tomorrow. They've got their 3rd game, home game. No, this is a road game. They're on a road trip. Tampa Bay, 4 p.m. our time. This is a 4-game road trip. They play Tampa, then they play the Florida Panthers. They play Philadelphia again, and then they play Chicago. They come back to play Sidney Crosby on the 27th, the Penguins. The 26th, Saturday the 26th is their next home game. So 4 games on the road. Tampa is only 1-0 on the season so far, just 1 game. They and the Rangers are the only undefeated teams in the Eastern Conference so far. And Montreal and Toronto on top of the Atlantic Division, both winning 2 of their first 3 games. So good to see some Canadian teams having success, even though the Oilers and the Canucks are so far winless on the season. Friday night was super special. That Philly loss was a little tough, but nice to see them honor Alex Edler. He signed a 1-day contract to retire as a Canuck. They had a really special ceremony. Edler is the all-time leader for Canucks defensemen in goals, assists, and points, and his 15 seasons in the with the Canucks and the D Corps was fourth all time in games, but leads the way in goals, assists, and points. 99 goals, 310 assists, and 409 points there. JT Miller had a great game on Friday. Got a Gordie Howe hat trick, a goal, assist, and a fight, and really looked great doing so. Had a few really monster hits, couple assists actually, and very, very fun. Yeah, good to see him come out, be a leader, and play super well right out of the gate. Okay, I do want to mention the world of tennis. The tennis world #1, Jannik Sinner beat Novak Djokovic in straight sets to win the Shanghai Masters on Sunday. The Italian has now won 7 titles on the season. Should put a little bit of an asterisk maybe by him after getting caught twice for steroids. Novak, 37 years old, still playing well, being finished second in the tournament. Really still says he's not leaning towards retirement yet, wants to play the rest of the season and into next. He was trying to win his 100th title on the ATP Tour, his 5th in Shanghai. There's only 2 players that have won more than 100 titles. Roger Federer got 103, and Jimmy Connors finished with 109. So he's still trying to chase those 2 guys down. Andy Murray is the last guy to win 7 or more titles on the ATP Tour. That was back in 2016 when he won 9. And this now is 4 matches each wins for Novak against Sinner. So we probably will see them a few more times before Novak calls it a career. There was an announcement that Rafael Nadal is retiring now. Roger Federer did about a year or 2 ago now. Nadal has now announced his retirement at the age of 38. He is going to play in the Davis Cup in November in Spain. That will be his last tournament. He won 22 Grand Slam titles, had an absolutely incredible career. It will be great to see all the tributes pouring in from him, and to see him playing on home soil, maybe getting a chance to lift the trophy for the Davis Cup with his countrymen. Should be super fun to watch. On the women's side, second seeded Arina Sabalenka won the Wuhan Open for the 3rd year in a row. She beat Zhang Qinwen in 3 sets. It was a rematch of the Aussie Open, and Sabalenka has won her 4th tournament of the year. She's 17-0 at the Wuhan Open, has never lost a match at that tournament, so able to get that 3rd victory in a row. I want to mention the Vancouver Whitecaps. They lost their 2nd last game of the season yesterday. LAFC scored in the 1st minute and in injury time in the 93rd minute to get the 2-1 win. The Whitecaps' goal actually was an own goal by LA, so Vancouver really didn't score, but LA had to wait until extra time to get the victory. Vancouver now still sits in 8th place in the Western Conference, 2 points behind Minnesota in 7th, and just 1 point ahead of Portland in 9th. Vancouver's last game goes Saturday, Real Salt Lake at 6 o'clock. Also, same time, Minnesota goes to St. Louis for their match, and Portland plays Seattle, same date and time. So after a couple hours, 8 o'clock, we're going to know how the playoffs will shape up. Will Vancouver be able to climb up into 7th? Will they stay in 8th, or will they fall back to 9th? If they stay in 8th, they'll play a 1-game playoff against Portland to get in. If they go into 7th, then they'll have a matchup with the 2nd seeded LAFC, who they just lost to this weekend. So yeah, lots to play for heading into the last weekend of the regular season. PGA wanted to mention the Black Desert Championship, first ever in Utah there. First inaugural championship there. Matt McCarty won by 3 shots, 23 under, beat Steven Jaeger, who was 20 under. Lucas Glover and Kevin Streelman both tied for third, 19 under. Top Canadians were Nick Taylor and Adam Svensson. Both finished in a tie for 25th at 13 under. And McCarty got a nice $1,350,000 winner's check. This weekend, their PGA's tournament is playing in the Shriners Children's Open. That's in Las Vegas. Lots of Canadians in the tournament. The 2 guys I just mentioned, Nick Taylor and Adam Svensson, as well as Roger Sloan, who was in this tournament too, finished 61st. Ben Silverman and Adam Hadwin will all tee it up there. CFL, make note of it. The BC Lions absolutely just got blown out in Regina on Saturday, 39-8 by Saskatchewan. Nathan Rourke had another tough game, threw a couple of picks and ended up getting pulled, replaced by third stringer Chase Bryce, who had 9 completions out of 14 passes for 92 yards. Justin McInnes had a good game with 119 yards. Nobody else really stood out incredibly well. So the Western Conference Western semifinal will be played in Regina in a couple of weeks. That's the Lions and Regina, it looks like. The winner gets to play in the final of the Western Conference, which will be in Winnipeg in November. So I did want to mention some college football as well. Number 1, Texas beat Oklahoma 34-3. They solidified their spot at number 1. Ohio State was number 2, facing number 3 Oregon in a really good battle here. There was 7 lead changes in the game, and Oregon ended up getting the nod 32-31. They got a late field goal victory. Dylan Gabriel had a fantastic game with 341 yards, passing 2 touchdowns, and ran one in himself from 27 yards out. Evan Stewart had 149 yards receiving on 7 catches and a touchdown. Jordan James had 23 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown. And Ohio State, Will Howard had a great game himself as quarterback there, 326 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith had 9 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. And Amika Egbuka had 10 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. But now Ohio State has fallen down to number 4, and Oregon has become number 2. Number 3 on the college football slate has Penn State, who beat USC 33-30 in overtime. So number 4 is Ohio State. Number 5 is Georgia. Number 6, Miami. Alabama 7, LSU 8, Iowa State 9, and Clemson 10. I want to make a special mention of Boise State, who won 28-7 over Hawaii. Ashton Gianti, we talked about him on the podcast last few weeks. 31 carries for 217 yards and a touchdown, and 3 catches and got another touchdown through the air. Keeps going for his Heisman Trophy bid. Also, Shedeur Sanders is in the Heisman Trophy consideration as well. You could really say he had an absolutely fantastic game. Came very close to being able to beat number 17 Kansas State. Colorado lost 31-28 in the end. Sanders was 34 for 40, 388 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. And he had 9 pressures that he ended up getting sacked, ended up having minus 50 yards rushing. So he was having a lot of trouble with the pressure as always. And unfortunately, he lost 4 receivers during the game. One of his top receivers, Jimmy Horn, went out in the second quarter. Travis Hunter, the guy we've been talking about playing both sides of the ball, had a right shoulder injury, left the game. Omarion Miller was injured, and Tyrell Thomas Jr. also injured. So incredible that he was able to muster up as much offense as he did, missing 4 of his receivers and 3 of the really, really top guys. The other mention I wanted to give was that Army and Navy are in the top 25 together for the first time since 1960. Army's 6-0 and Navy's 5-0. They've not been both unbeaten at this point in the season since the week after World War II ended, 1945. So great to see those 2 programs having so much success and doing so well. Iowa State as well. This is the first time they're 6-0 in a season since 1938. Number 9, Iowa State. Congratulations. There was a couple of teams that dropped. Mississippi dropped from 9 to 18. They were in that slot with Iowa State, and LSU actually increased from 13 up to 8. Pretty wild to see. SEC is pretty dominant. 8 teams in the top 25. In the Big Ten, there's 6 teams in the top 25, and 3 of those Big Ten teams are in the top 5: Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State. So Big Ten and the SEC are the 2 dominant conferences at the moment. So that is the sports story. Thanks so much for sticking through to the end. As always, want to thank our partners and sponsors, and want to thank you. You have made it great and so satisfying and so fun to do this on a weekly basis. Hope you have a really good Thanksgiving if you're north of the border here. We do our Thanksgiving a little more than a month before you guys do down south, any of our American viewers and listeners. But yeah, hope you had a great long weekend. I hope it continues with a really yummy turkey dinner, all you Canadians. And love you guys lots. Take care of yourself, and we will talk soon. See you next week. Bye for now.